Still offline. Oh. Whoa.
Was there a delay there? Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah. Nice. That looks cool.
Yeah, it's clean.
Right? For a at-home production. This is straight.
Damn, math, they didn't follow math.
Did you hear that?
I'm doing all this stuff on purpose just to see what I look like delayed after.
It's kind of trippy. And that's why I have the sound off, because the sound is also delayed.
Right.
Woo!
You can hear the sound on your end? Oh, no, you don't have a headphone on.
No. The sound is off. Can somebody text so I can see the chat if there is anything?
Yeah.
If the chat is live. Hello. Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. It says 3 waiting. So does that mean
3 waiting to come inside into the chat room?
do I have to like admit people in? Because it says 3 waiting.
They're in.
They're in. All right.
Can you see who's in, like, on your end, Mena?
Just here.
Oh, just over there. Okay, got it.
Okay.
All the analytic stuff is through here.
Cool. Because I was telling her that, like, I listen to like a lot of shows that do like YouTube streams, and like I'm like, it's cool seeing this like that, because I know when I see other YouTubers, they do it like, oh, so and so is in the chat, what's up, the kind of thing.
Like, because on Instagram you can see who's entered.
Right.
On the chat.
Right. Yeah. That's cool. So then you'll be getting the questions.
No, I can see them on the
they'll
chat.
be showing up on your. Okay, smooth.
It'll just be a little delay compared to what I can get.
Got you.
Yeah. Cool. If the cable, next time I need to get a longer cable so that I could use that laptop to see everything. But I guess I will go ahead and start.
Yeah.
Because people will be coming in and out. But this is already being recorded, so 5 people. Nice. Welcome. Welcome to the live stream. You're good to go?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm appreciating what the setup is.
The setup?
Yeah.
Hey, the setup is different than last time because the budget went way down and the resources we have available are less, but we do with what we have.
Yeah.
And I'm still happy with it. It looks really clean.
No, I like it. No, it's really smooth.
Right? Yeah. So I will go ahead and begin the conversation.
Yes.
Welcome back to the pod. I appreciate you for making the time to be back. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed our conversation last year. It's already been a year. And I feel like we were due having a continuation. And I really appreciate the idea of a live stream because this is also new to me. So we're embarking on the journey together.
Yep.
Yes. I want to say also welcome to everybody who's already tuned in. I have 2 questions prepared for Kinen. I'm leaving the conversation pretty open. And we'll see, we'll freestyle it. We'll go from where the conversation takes us. And I'm monitoring the chat here as well. So if anybody has questions, I will do my best to catch it and insert it into our conversation.
Smooth.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. The first question. Okay. The first question is a pretty loaded question. So, picking up from our last conversation, we touched on your definition of a street dancer and the historical roots of different street dance forms in New York. I wanted to ask, what are the different intentions and values behind street dance, club dance, and social dance. I feel like today those categories often get blurred, and people entering these cultures, like when I did, are not always aware of the different spaces they're stepping into or how they should show up in each one. Also, how have those distinctions shifted over the years across different generations?
For sure, for sure, for sure. So the last time we spoke about uh street dance, I remember the intention was really about clarifying certain aspects during my generation specifically. So like 2000s into the 2010s, and really talking about what that looked like for people in my community and my scene, but also like making a distinction between that and like maybe like people who do contests, top 16 bracket style street dance, and like showing that there was a slight separation or a distinction. Like in crump or light feet or flexing, a lot of battles were more exhibition based, whereas in certain contests it was like bracket based, and without a lot of social media, in terms of flyers and stuff like that for those contests, you really didn't know where to go to those spaces. But at that time, those things were often categorized as freestyle dance, just dance, or sometimes social and club dance or hip hop dance in the attempt to be like, this is the umbrella. There's around time people were considering like popping and everything under the umbrella of hip hop dance. So street dance, not saying that it specifically meant lifey, flex, and crump, but people used to make distinctions between street dancer, professional dancer, club dancers. I know a lot of like club OGs for a long time, they didn't consider themselves dancers. They considered themselves just club heads. So they would go to the club and dance, but it wasn't like, I'm here to perfect my movement in this club space. I just really like the music that gets played at this place, so I'm going here to hear music. And by natural, just by nature, I'm just gonna move, I'm gonna dance. So there are all those different separations, but in the world of academics, people becoming professors, people becoming archivists, or just cultural bearers in these aspects of Black culture, what tends to happen is they either lump it all together and be like, oh, it's all one and the same, which in essence it is. And then they kind of make like circumstantial distinctions. Like if a situation comes up where it's like, oh, well, can you do this here? Can you do that here? Then they're like, all right, this is what you do here, this is what you do there. And it's not necessarily like concrete rules that are established, but it's just kind of like guidelines to give you perspective in a space. So with that being said, the distinctions between social, street, and club are not like broad, like they're completely separate worlds or principles, but there are little nuances that when someone gets into Black dance culture, understanding them can help you know how to navigate things a lot more. Oh, you'd be a lot more aware of just like the whys essentially. So social dance is essentially what we've all grown up with. We've danced socially with our family members. We've danced socially with our friends. We have social dances that come by way of like music that comes out, music that gets played. So not even just music that is present on media, but like a community song or a neighborhood song. Like depending on what neighborhood you're from, you have tracks and you have certain things that circulate around your community that everybody is familiar with. So a lot of social dances get generated from that in terms of like social dances that are codified. Social dance beyond that is just me and you dancing together, right? Just moving and engaging. Club dance oftentimes refers to a club setting or people clubbing. And again, being a club head, there's a lot of OGs that talk about how they consider themselves club heads before even dancers. And when I think to the times when I've gone to like club spaces and been around those type of elders, a lot of them often didn't navigate with a dancer kind of mentality. Like they weren't really into like codifying things and saying this is this step and this is that step. For them, it's just like the music and me and the music and everybody that's around, right? Sometimes they went to places and didn't even really dance for real. They were just there, just enjoying. So
Yeah.
club dance, what we call club dance, it comes from that. And then street dance, the thing that is distinct for me is that within club culture, within social club culture, there are people who practice street dance forms and street dance principles. But one thing that's always been super distinct about street dance is that it's oftentimes always children that develop these things and create these communities. It always it's like almost, I can't think of any street dance that didn't start with kids, like actual like under 12 children, right?
That's young.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so no real access to the clubs depending on what type of kid you live, but majority of them were not in the clubs. They may have been to park jams where they were social with their community, but when you hear the stories of like street dance adventures, it always feels like this wild wild west thing. Like, I was a kid, I had this type of style, and I would go to school and I'll battle this kid, or this kid would see me on the block, and you often hear street dance lore start from there. One pivotal example of that is that Jerry Renty one time spoke about like what it meant to be a boogaloo in Northern California, and how it was a rep thing. So if someone knew you as a boogaloo, you would walk around the neighborhood, they'd be like, oh, that's so and so, like, let me see you boogaloo. And you don't have no speaker on you, you don't have no music, so what are you gonna do? And he had mentioned that you would move, you would just do the form. But you would do the form in a sense to express the type of boogaloo dancer you were. So you're still aware of like your animation, your stops, your swinging of the arms, the different things that you're doing, the story you're telling, and you're guided by this internal rhythm. So it's not to say that you're not being musical, you're not in a pocket, but there's no music around. So you'll probably be moving from the last pocket you heard from a car passing by. You know what I mean? I often have this conversation with folks about how I'd often argue that the songs that people dance to were just songs that were on. You know what I mean? Like, not something like, oh, play the next track, I want to hear this track. It's like, nah, you turn on the radio, whatever was playing would probably be what you would move to. It wouldn't be a thing of like, that to me is street dance in the sense of like, the music is the backdrop for them to figure out these movement ideas. It's still social. Could be done in a club environment, like something like Vogue has a lot of street dance principles, is in a ballroom club environment. But those little distinctions kind of help people understand those aesthetics. So it's not a thing of like, again, splitting hairs. They're all still one and the same, but understanding them helps you know how to navigate. So like, I would never see, at least when I was dancing, someone coming into a street dance circle from a social or let's kind of club kind of movement. Like, if people are in a circle like crafting and building, sharing, it's still social, but no one's gonna disrupt that conversation, just be like, hey, right, and just move around. In fact, when stuff like that would happen, like in a Union Square or whatever, it was like a moment where almost everybody collectively knew to be like, all right, let's wait for this person to like ego out and then back to the conversation, right? Because it was clear that it wasn't about that. It's not to be dismissive of people who want to just get down, but well aware. Same way in like a club setting, someone that comes in and like centers themselves in the club and like is like tutting and waving and like taking up all the space, kind of like, come on, you know, like you could do that on the side. You know, people are all trying to dance here. So knowing those distinctions can help you know how to navigate, so you may not become that person. But also in your practice, it gives you an idea of how to navigate just your own movement, kind of figure out what kind of dancer you want to be in certain scenarios, but also what dancer you want to be primarily. You know what I mean? I feel like some dancers also may be very into just free movement. I don't want to think, I just want to enjoy. Social and club spaces would probably be better or more realistic for what you want to experience. Doesn't mean that you can't go to street dance spaces, where someone may be super curious about why the movement works this way, and then maybe prone to move in a more street dance way. I want to express myself. Like, I enjoy dance, but I want to figure out how these dances could allow me to communicate. I want to engage in this level of communication. I don't want to just like me and you just get down and we go our separate ways. I could do that with my family. I could do that with anybody. In this moment, I want to communicate something. You would probably align more with like a street dance space or a street dance form or style or technique.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. I feel like a lot of people like myself, I come from first the choreo community. That's how I entered into dance.
Right.
And entering into dance through choreo, then you start hearing about freestyle. And then you start getting introduced to different styles like hip hop, locking, whack, popping, etc. I didn't even hear about flexing and other styles like that in the beginning. And my mentors at the time would tell me like, oh, go to New York. That's like where hip hop comes from. That's where you will experience the underground scene and like those parties where those things were born. But again, it was speaking from a very like broad perspective of like all of these things were born in there.
Right.
So I go into New York and I go into the club and obviously get exposed to social dance. Then when I moved to New York, my first year was like I was at the club all the time, doing house, doing hip hop, and I feel like also on the side taking classes. So for me, not being aware of all these different distinguishing elements, I am hearing one perspective and I'm hearing this is the perspective.
Right.
So when I came in and I was in the club and social dancing, then when I go into other spaces, I am aware that in the space it would be really off if I go in the circle and I just try to go off.
Right.
Wow, everybody is intentional or working on something. I'm aware of that, but at the time I'm not fully understanding why that is. I can tell it's different intention than in the club, but I'm still like confused, right?
Right.
So then I feel like the moment when I started really questioning it was also when I'm entering and going into events for competitions and I'm seeing everybody's intentions. And I feel like that's also where the biggest confusion happens because I know that I'm not the only one that gets confused about intentions within. So in those spaces, those people just, I feel like there's so much confusion on how to approach the dance. And I've also seen people who they might want to be more intentional with their dance, but because they were not in that space, they were growing as a dancer in another space.
Right.
They kind of are like, their dance looks like it's contradicting. My dance was definitely contradicting because I was learning so much movement and I wanted to be intentional, but at the same time, like I was told, like, you need to feel it, you need to just feel it. And I know that that is so important, of course. Like everybody needs to feel and be connected with the music. But when you're being told that and then you're throwing movement and you're feeling it, it's like contradicting to what I wanted to do.
Right. No, for sure. And feeling, as important as it is, it can often land as like a vague term, like to feel.
Yes.
As opposed to someone saying like, choose, make a choice. Here's all this information. Choose in this moment how to say it, or not even how, but choose which one you do. So if we're learning bounce rock, and it's like, all right, this is the bounce, this is the rock. I'm put the music on. Choose. The first thing that happens is like, okay, what do I resonate with in this moment? And you have that experience with that. Someone may take it a step further and be like, what kind of attitude are you applying to it? And not attitude like I'm mad, but it can be a plethora of things. How are you feeling right now, and how does that shape what you just chose? And then from there, it's kind of more of a thing of like letting that nurture the feel, because you now are living that. You kind of like, this feels good, this doesn't feel good. You shift gears or variate. And I feel like that's how you learn what it is. It's easier for people to say just feel if they're coming from a place of like, I just grew up loving this music. I love this music. So whatever dance I see that comes from this music, I'm just gonna do that dance because I love this music. A lot of their feeling is coming from what they love musically, which is why a lot of dancers are like, yo, for me, dance is like my relationship with music. It's my communication and my connection to music. They find all of these like super internal looks on how their relationship with music impacts their dance. A lot of street dancers talk about the movement first. It's not because they don't like music or that they don't have this same connection. You talk to street dancers and it's like, yo, did you hear that new album? Did you hear the new project? They love music. They love dancing to music. They have experiences where they meet with family and they dance.
Yeah.
But there's something about what the movement allowed them to express. I oftentimes, for my generation, I connected to, um, especially in New York, a type of limited resource, because when I was in high school, the only athletics you could do was basketball. So it wasn't like a plethora. Like you go to high school, you have a basketball team, a football team, a wrestling team. In my high school, it was just basketball. And then if it wasn't basketball, you did like a music elective where you stay after school and make beats or work on music if that was something you like. And then the other thing is art, drawing. And those are good mediums to find yourself in. But for kids who are navigating, whether not being athletic or even competitive in that way, maybe liking music but not being called to produce it, maybe good at drawing, but there could be a level of like, I don't draw as good as this person. And a lot of art is oftentimes seeing and comparing to other classmates. Movement often becomes a thing where it's like everybody is agreeing on this idea and how we dialogue about it.
Yeah.
That becomes a different thing for a teenager in school. If I'm saying, yo, there's this thing called connecting, and I'm showing you all these different like tuts and stuff like that, it's like I'm not trying to paint this image that like when the first time someone saw tutting, there was already like, okay, you got to learn the foundation. Nobody was talking like that in high school. But someone shows you a tut and you like, yo, that's cool. At the very base, it's cool. But once you go day 2, day 3, week 2, week 3, and this person who's tutting, you're connecting, and y'all working on different ways, and then another school or classmate comes in and it's like, I tut too. That becomes a very like, let me see something. Ain't nobody watching two people tut and after school and being like, oh yeah, but you weren't in, there was no pocket, there was no groove. Like nobody's using that language.
Yeah.
It's primarily about the movement. And then in the event that you get into a space where music is being played, fortunately for Black people who grow up from the womb with a sense of an internal rhythm, a sense of moving rhythmically from out the womb, oftentimes they don't have an issue with like putting their thing in pockets and putting their thing in a certain dynamic. That's not something that they may have to learn. They may have to learn like how to dance and interact with people, but that's more like social.
Yeah.
Some people grow up and just like they don't have that lived experience to like, I'm automatically gonna be like, hey, what's up? Hi, nice to meet you. Like, let's. We're not taking into account all the other factors that can make someone not want to dance with somebody beyond the fact that they're not a good dancer. It could be like social anxiety, all these things, trauma. But one thing's for sure, I could be who I want to be with the tuts. You could be who you want to be with the tuts. And we're making this agreement that the angles and the shapes are valuable. So when we measure, I could be like, nah, I got you in this one. I got you. And you can feel the passion start to And then when you find out it's not just tutting that you can do, and there's a world where you could do more, it's just like, huh. At the time, for me, everybody I saw getting into dance, whether it was getting into crumb, getting into flex, getting into light feet, those movement forms is doing something that like drawing could not do. Basketball wasn't doing it. And basketball is very objective, but even in basketball, it's based on the fact that we all agree. We all agree that you can't hold the ball and run because uh, um, that's not legal. We all agree that you have to dribble before you shoot. You have to pass. But then even things that aren't like necessarily like hardcore rules in basketball, if someone is playing and they're constantly laying up, it's like, nah, you just laying up. Like you're not trying to shoot. You're not trying to shoot from the three. So there's almost this thing of like, oh, you saying I'm not good. I can show you my range of like how good I am at basketball. So there's this intuitive thing of how to do it. Dance has that same, but the difference is like I can stay here and I can move and explore this range and this thing. And it's objective because we all agree, but the freedom is that I can bend the rules, right? Whereas like in basketball, you can kind of bend the rules, but it's oftentimes very light.
Yeah.
But with dance, there was a lot of bending of the rules. And yeah, I just felt like a lot of people in the street dance world, they took very top priority on those things. Like being able to all mutually agree that this is what we're doing, this is what we're on, which is why the cipher doesn't feel inviting, because it's a bunch of people that are having a specific dialogue in that moment. So yes, they're dancing, but they're not dancing. They're doing a specific dance. Knowing street dance and what it is allows you to be aware of that. The difference between that and coming from a contest perspective is, again, people are entering a contest. Oftentimes, unfortunately, in the street dance scene or freestyle dance scene, criteria are not clear. So then someone comes in and it's like, well, I'm going to lead with my dance first. I'm going to lead with my groove first. And then someone else does a blow up and they win. And it's like, but you said in the workshop, but then you picked. That's a whole conversation about just inconsistencies and criteria and the fact that hasn't been established across the board what we agree to. Even though some people may have systems on how to tackle that, approach that, deal with that, that's still an individual take. We are not at a place where the dance world collectively agrees on. I think maybe the only thing that we all collectively may agree on is like being on beat. But outside of that, there's always these nuances. So for a contest to be specific, oftentimes it breeds better outcomes. But you find in style exhibitions where it's one person versus one person, even within the debate or even within like I feel like this person won, I feel like that person won, there's a clear, we both do this dance, we're going rounds on this dance. You know what I mean? There's a clarity there. And again, the conversation isn't about like, where's your groove? Because that's just mandatory. Like if you can't, if there's no clear pace or pattern to how you're moving, if there's no precision and a space that you go back to, then yeah, you're not in a groove, you're not in a pocket. But it's not always just this. You're not grooving because the technique has to be attached to like this social step that I can translate. Like, oh, that was a Roger Rabbit tut. Or that was a Cabbage Patch wave. It's not that thing. It's like I should see the internal rhythm that guides the dance and guides the technique that you're doing. I should see that. But that I should see that because that's mandatory. That's like breathing. I still am measuring the movement expression. But we also in a time where a lot of what I call the top 16ers in that world of dance, a lot of them come into it learning just technical movement. So I do understand where there's an emphasis for knowing how to actually dance and pushing it. It's just about, I think, again, there's just a language framing. It's I would instead of saying feel it, I would say make a choice. Personally, make a choice instead of saying something along the lines of like dance as a way of like performing dance and then putting the technique on top of it. I'm saying implement how you just naturally respond to the movement. focus on your pace, focus on your pattern, and then again choose. Choose. So if the music makes you go like that, that's where you're at. That's the base. From there, yeah, find your tut, find your way, find the technique that you're in. But if you come in straight up and it's like this, and then tut from here, like a count after, or we talked about it from an animation perspective where people try to like tick or dime stop a social dance. So they'll do like this, but then they'll go like
Yeah.
it's like certain things like that. It's like, okay, word, but the tick in itself is rhythmic. You don't have to put all these like these things that make it seem like, oh, that person is dancing. You can see it. When Flat Top ticks, it looks dancey. He's super rhythmic with it. He's still going into a rhythm. When Dre bops, it's still dancing. He don't gotta get. He does do that little, but he don't gotta always like go to there. There's little just placements and posture changes that still reflect a dance aesthetic. So yeah, I hope I didn't go off on a tangent, but I feel like the idea of the confusion comes with the wording. So how people word, they're leaning on vague things, and oftentimes because they're very passionate about what they're saying. So it's like, you got to feel it, you got to be in it. Or sometimes people like to be concise, but they're not really clear on the language of being concise. Like, yeah, it's just feeling, but maybe not feeling, or just groove, but what is a groove? And man, how many times we've had that conversation? What is a groove? But then talk about the pocket. What is a pocket? I'm well aware I'm not a musician, right? So the technical terms for how musicians would speak on it, I'm not hip to all of that. But at the same time, I'm well aware of where the beat is at. And again, where my pacing is in the beat, what patterns are guiding my movement. Obviously, that's going to bring in things like, this feels good, so I'm going to enjoy. My attitude is going to change when I'm getting down. That's not me projecting a manufactured feeling. I'm experiencing it in real time. Some people, when they dance, why it looks awkward is because they're doing a manufactured feeling. They're oftentimes reflecting their teacher, and like, well, my teacher moves this way, so I'm just going to be like, because my teacher does this, so whatever they're doing is what I'm going to do, and then find myself in it. Variation wise, it may still look different, but you can kind of see where there's a slight level of inauthenticity. What street dance often does is that it makes you fall off the bike quicker, because it throws you like, do it this way, do it to this with this intention, and then you fail. So it's not this thing where you're learning a step and then you learn a variation. It's a thing of like, this is a movement idea. How would you communicate that? Which aspect of it would you choose? And you feel really whack doing it initially. You get very frustrated. You get very like, I'm not getting this. But then all those raw pieces of not getting it the right way leads you to your form. Yeah. Leads you to your actual structure that the principal brought you to. So I think it's the framing of the words, and I think it's how people experience what they hear when they're going through like the difference between how do I street dance, how do I social dance. And then again, those same people can go to a club and we could all, I'm not saying we can't do that. We just know when and where. And even when and where is not super like, press the A button and now we're street dancing. It's very circumstantial. Because again, there's nuance. There can be moments where a street dance cipher turns into that, where we see how many different ways I can clown this move and flip it, of course. But we do know what the primaries and the secondaries are.
Wow. My light went off. Yeah, that was a really good answer. And there were so many moments in that where it resonated. Also, guys, I just realized like we're doing something that started from kids doing it. Like, just letting that sink in. Yeah. Kids don't sit here and try to like be so serious. They don't try to like be so formal. They're just playing. It's a play. Play. But or every game has rules. Like when we play Monopoly Deal, We're not just
We're not just
deal.
like mindlessly going, all right, your turn.
Yeah.
Kids are very intentional in that way. As someone who works with kids, like it seems very like open and free, but when you step into how they do what they do, it's mad intentional. You kind of realize like I can't just jump in. That's the ill thing about children. Teenagers and adults, they kind of like start to do other things to it, where then it starts to be like, and I respect that structure too as we get mature. But kids have a very interesting way of being playful and intentional, and almost all of our street dances are developed by children. Yeah, so you got to go back to being a child, and I know that's a vague thing too, right? Like play like a child, be a child in your dance, and then it makes us think like, oh, so does that mean I just do whatever? Because in my mind, a kid does whatever. It's like, no. Think about the time when you were a kid, you were intentional. When you colored and you didn't just grab every crayon and I like red.
You had something to draw.
Right.
You were coloring in the lines.
And some people who did out the line, you kind of saw the type of kid they were, right? Like I color out the lines maybe because I don't need this diagram. I need to draw more freely. That's fair. But then there were kids who were like, I like the fact that I have these options and I can change the colors. Some kids would be in the middle and be like, I'm gonna draw out the lines, but I'm gonna be very clean with how I draw out the lines.
That was me. Yeah.
But you see how intentional children are? Whereas like to go from that to like, here's a wave or here's a bounce, here's a groove, here's a step, and then just make a variation. Well, what are my varying options? What is the process of varying, right? You like teach me how to write. Teach me what the colors would give. What happens when I'm using marker and I put two colors together? What do I get? Teach me those degrees over time. So then I'm constantly choosing. I think it's the thing about choice to me is a very strong word because it's not about doing everything, but it is about starting with something and then letting something cohesively go into another thing.
Yeah, for sure. That is important. And I think that is what helped me on my journey. Because when I came to you, you didn't tell me you have to do this move like that, and that means you're doing this style.
Right.
You very much were connect to the music, and then build and layer upon that. So
and fortunately for us, we would isolate the music. So we would go drums.
Right.
So you're not even hearing the track as it is. You're hearing the drums first, and you like, okay, that's wow. And then we put the bass and stuff and everything back on it. You kind of like, I would see when your energy would change. Like, this is like in the earlier times. I could see when it was like it's harder to hear. Wow, what I thought was a drum wasn't even a drum. It was the bass. That stuff is ill. Thank God we got technology like that nowadays.
Yeah. By the way, guys, you don't have to worry about it. It's okay. I look lit. You guys can see me. Raw cuts. Oh, we have Zerk online. What's up? He commented on what you said about raw cuts with precision.
Oh, raw cuts with precision. Yeah.
Literally. But yeah, that I think helped me a lot because before it was, I wouldn't say I was restricted and I didn't have a choice. It was almost, here somebody else's choice, pick one of somebody else's choice.
And the somebody else is being me.
Yeah, like let's say like you're my teacher, you're my mentor, whatever class I took, it's a lot of times like the movement is already given to you, and then based already on those choices presented to you, you make a choice on that. But there was no, like, for example, you might be given 5 moves, and then it was like find 100 ways to do that
To
move.
do it, right.
That's still, I understand the exercise and the intention behind that, but it also felt like, well, what if I wouldn't do the move in the first place?
Right.
What if I want to pick a different choice? What if I want to do the move, but really go as far as change it so much it's not the move anymore?
Right. Or learning what the move represents.
Right.
That's the key thing. Like, do an arm wave. The principle of arm wave is that energy is traveling from your finger to your shoulder. So even if you don't like how the arm wave looks, you have the option to communicate energy traveling from your arm to your shoulder. You now get to dictate what that looks like.
Yeah. And that, even the way you say it, it gives me like autonomy.
I mean, that just and that's the ill thing about street dance is that, like, what would you do?
Yeah.
Right? But it doesn't mean that when I say that you start tutting. That's why it's a language. You would wave, and now we're both mutually agreeing that we're waving right now. So if somebody comes in and does, crank that soldier boy, it'll look awkward. Not because we don't like to crank that soldier boy, we don't like dancing. It's just that right now people are waving.
Right.
To me, that's what makes street dance distinct. Is when that conversation is happening. The same way on the flip side, a social or club setting, if everybody's cranking that soldier boy, you start waving, the context, what was the point?
Yeah.
But the relationship is there. Like, the differences in why I understand why a social dance move would be like do it your own way, because folks also have experiences where people are doing it their own way, but they're not focusing on the real life circumstance of why. So if everybody's doing a line dance, your grandmother is not going to step the same way as you because her age. So you may be going 100%. She may be just like, right? You may have that uncle who has like the injured leg. He may have a little in his. That's everyone doing it different. You may have a kid who don't know what's going on, so they just like, and you're seeing all these different people on a line doing a line dance. Yeah, the everybody's doing it differently, but the context to why they're doing it differently is not because this kid is like, yeah, I'm gonna do it my own way. No, I'm just a kid. Grandma's not like, I'm gonna do it my own way. She's grandma. Her mind is probably thinking about, when are we going to bed? Right? I'm tired. So let me just do this dance right now. And then who's cleaning up? Who's packing the food? Who's taking a plate home?
Yeah.
The idea is not that everybody just met up and was like, let's do this dance, y'all. Remember to do it your own way. No social settings work like that. That's so unrealistic. In street dance, though, the conversation shifts. It's like, do it your own way, but because we're all agreeing on this prompt, on this theme, it's a legit conversation. Whereas do it your own way is kind of based on a different kind of context. Oftentimes real life. Oftentimes it could be post-argument. Some family members arguing, they come out like, yo, I'm about to be out. Yo, come on, just dance real quick. All right. Let's say nobody's injured, nobody's emotional or feeling any kind of way. It could be something as simple as you got a drink in your hand. And just because there's liquid in there, you can't when you coming down on that electric, you can't go in with that because you may splash somebody in the back. So you may have to, all of those things do make up the variation nature of how a dance instructor would teach you different steps. But understanding that context gives you more autonomy to like, I'm feeling this way today. So today I'm going to move from this capacity, but I'm still going to push in these principles and these intentions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And that still can be argued that that's a different, like applying different feeling to the same step could be like also said that's the different context.
Right.
But again, I feel like everybody has such different definitions that especially when you take it international and people come from different cultures,
Right.
things mean different things. I feel like one, for people like myself, we come in, we are learning English, and then you come into the space and you also, there is slang, there is like things
Right.
that you guys are saying, but it actually doesn't mean what you're saying.
Right.
So dealing with that can be, those barriers can also create the confusion, which totally makes sense. But I feel like it's important to, that's when you become an observer, and then you
Right.
just sit there and you're like, okay, so what is happening here? Even if I'm not able to communicate verbally and ask and understand, being in a certain space for a certain amount of time allows you to feel. We use the word again, feel. To be aware.
Yeah, and you're feeling it obviously because there's a sensitivity there about like I'm in a new space, so I'm navigating it, but also it's I'm feeling it, but I'm not feeling it like it's revealing itself to me. Like you may go to a social dance space or whatever dance space, and you may feel something, but until you ask the question, you can't really give a concrete definition to what it is you're feeling.
Right.
You know, you again, that's the engagement part, but the dialogue still needs to happen. And again, when I first saw a dance, what was that? That was my question. Hey, how do you do that? Once it, I feel like back then people always followed up with the how with the why. That's one thing I feel like doesn't happen a lot in today's dance. It's always more just the how. Yeah, I feel like
All
back
the physical stuff.
yeah, I feel like back then people would be like, yo, you got to do it like this because when you do it like that, that's when you feel this, or you find it's like they're giving you the context already, and then intuitively you would just automatically go like, I can relate to that. I'm that kind of person. Like when we talk about body control, like you may see people just like letting loose and dancing, and for you may be like, I don't necessarily move that way, but it's not because again you don't like how people move that way. It's just that that's not you. So if someone presents you with a body control perspective, or you say, yo, I like when you dance that way, they're both coming from the same place, same community, different principle to apply.
Well, that's why they all look so different too.
That part, right? Because it allows people to be what their circumstances are and express themselves to that degree. Yeah. Imagine being antisocial and like having, well, on the flip side, that could push you to be a new person because you may be someone that doesn't communicate, not really vocal, but then a dance could bring out a new side that you never knew. Like dancing big may be helpful for you because you may be like, wow, I used to be so small and minimize myself. Now this big movement allows me to express myself more. So there's always different ways that thing could flip.
Yeah, for sure. We have a question. Okay, I'm not sure if this question is okay, but it appears to me that hip hop freestyle overseas gets frowned upon by certain teachers in the States, and I can never really understand why. Do you think it's because what they showcase doesn't represent the teachers in the States?
I mean, that could be a loaded question, right? That could be one take. What we do know historically is that what is considered hip hop freestyle internationally is based on hip hop dance being brought over to Europe by way of Mop Top, Elite Force, Stretching Them, a very New York based perspective on hip hop freestyle movement. Hip hop dance, or what we call hip hop dance, the first, I guess, official, like this is a hip hop dance would have been breaking. But even breaking was governed by funk and break beats. So even though it was done at a time where people were rhyming and DJing and doing graffiti, it still had a life before hip hop. When you do get like Super Lover C and all these different people and they're saying do the this dance or do the that dance, then like mid 80s, a lot of more hip hop based dances start coming out. Marley Marl is credited for making like what they call WAP music, with how he used to produce his hip hop beats. So you can kind of see where the hip hop dance thing kind of came from. That doesn't look like breaking; it looks more like social dance steps, where each dance brought you to like a song or a record. And then Stretching Them had Elite Force and Mop Top had a tremendous performance career in terms of performance of certain artists. traveling the world, teaching people in Europe. The story I always hear from people in Europe, especially the earlier hip hop dancers, was that they would come teach them a step and then they would leave and they wouldn't come back for months. So all those dancers had is that step. And they would basically like run that step down to the ground and try to find different ways. Whether that story is true or not, I don't know. What I notice, at least from my experience, what we see from international hip hop dancers, you often find that a lot of them really love things that come out of popping. They really love things that's coming out of breaking. They really love things that's coming out of crump and light feed and flex. They love all of these things, but they oftentimes never are fully invested in like just going straight into that style. Historically, there was a divide in terms of how much styles you can really learn. There were some people that would be like, versatility is what you should do. Other folks would be like, no, with the style you learn with, like, that's you. You picked one, you can't go nowhere else. I've definitely lived in a time in street dance where to be a light feeder and then like flex is like, what are you doing? Or like to be a light feeder and then crump, it's like, whoa, like you're a light feeder. You need to stay where you're at kind of thing. And it wasn't like, well, actually in a lot of ways it was that straight up, but it was just like this subconscious thing of like, you push your style. And I often attribute that to just like the whole entertainers bug that dancers have, trying to be the next big thing in the entertainment industry of the United States. And like, if I can get on a TV show, on a gig pushing this style, then I'm the new fresh thing that people could consume. Instead of saying, how do these things all connect? We say that instead. So there was an energy for that. But from what I saw internationally, it was always about putting things together. So I'm a tud, I'm a wave, I'm a bounce, I'm a crump. And because I can't do all of that in one style, hip hop seems the more loose to do it. And circumstantially, it was loose in that way because educationally, a lot of people in that time were lumping things into a hip hop umbrella, even older forms, until they started making a distinction like, nah, this is a funk style, this is a hip hop style. So a lot of them come from that background. There's a lot of like, obviously ego of like, I'm gonna do it my way, whatever that means. You often find again, the idea of what makes someone great is not based on how they break the rules. Sometimes not even based on how they bend the rules. It's based on the fact that they can find strength and they could be great and be champions within the rules, right? Like someone like Kobe is great because I'm good at what the rules of basketball say I need to do. And look how good I am at getting all these points within those rules. Yeah. But by an international person's perspective, it's like, let's say the average international hip hop dancer who feels like everything needs to be changed and new. If they were a basketball player, their perspective would be like, why do I have to dribble to shoot this ball? What if I could just walk to the hoop and shoot the ball? What if that's my way? The old way was you dribble, but the new way could be we walk. What if instead of using my hands, we kick the ball? I'm good at kicking, so I'm going to use my kicks to get the ball in the hoop. And that's how I score my points. Why is it that we can't do that? That's what the argument sounds like when they're saying like, what is foundational, what is whatever. So yeah, it would make sense for someone to push back on that, because all of this greatness came on the fact that we all agree that it's this. That being said, I also feel like the beef that the internationals in America has is like pseudo, like it's not real. Like these people don't see each other and it's like, I don't fuck with you. It's like some people are just salty for whatever personal things they got going on in their life, and it's not this real divide and shift. On top of that, the infrastructure in Europe operates different than the US, right? Yeah. Like we're in New York. How often do we go to Jersey for events? You ask a New Yorker, he's like, nah, that's too far. But a person in Germany is gonna be at the French Jam and then go back home the same weekend. Right. To them, it's not a thing of like, that's too far. Country to country feels like a weekend for them. Yeah. Us to go to the Bronx is like, nah. You know what I mean? So
there's no parking. I'm not
going. I can't park. Whereas you got some of these people that's like taking whole flights. Yeah. So the dynamics is different. The energy is different. You're just interacting with a lot more people on a bigger basis. Could you imagine if every other weekend we were in a different state for a jam?
Forget about.
And
That's so crazy. Sorry to cut you off.
No. But that's true. Like, to me, I feel like that dynamic, we're really just seeing internationally a product of multiple countries having events all the time. And the population of, like, we'll see an event in Holland and think everybody there is from Holland. And it's like, nah, there's some Germans there, there's some people from the Netherlands there, there's people from
all over.
Right. Whereas a big event in LA, oftentimes it's once a year and it's barely any people from all over the world.
Yeah.
But imagine if every time an LA event happened, New York, Florida, Chicago, Texas, everybody was there. Then when an event in Chicago happened, you know how big American events would look? And then the discourse on what we do stylistically, that's a lot more conversations. So I just think that we're both a product of just things happening differently. I don't really think there's this beef for real, or this lack of respect, because all these OGs still go international and teach these people.
I mean, they're mostly there. They're not even
right. The fact that
no shade. They're mostly international.
The fact that Life Feet, Crump, and these styles even exist is the fact that they are over there a lot, right? Yeah. Because why would we need to make Life Feet if we were learning hip hop in New York City from Stretching Them? There'll be no need to make a Life Feet dance. It's also, but also, them not being there is not on them. It's also the United States doesn't support dance in that way. They didn't have that infrastructure, so it's fair. But it's really those things. I don't think it's so much of a not respect. I mean, there's probably some dances that's like, I don't respect international hip hop dancers, but context. Like, is that a general thing, or is that a you thing? Now, with that, hip hop dance, or what we call hip hop dance, outside of the Mop Top Elite Force context, is also regional. There's certain ways people in the South dance to their hip hop that New Yorkers don't. Same thing with the West, same thing with the Midwest. So everybody has their specific dances. If it's all hip hop dance, this is just a personal take. Hip hop collectively as a movement would have to reach out to all these people, have a sit down, or at least mutually agree on something, right? Like, we say Crump and Life Feet is a hip hop dance, so you can Life Feet technically in a hip hop battle. Could you Crump technically in a hip hop battle? And let's say you could you then on the flip hip hop freestyle in a Crump battle? If it's hip hop, if it's all hip hop, or for Life Feet context, if it's all hip hop, could a hip hop dancer like Majid come to a Life Feet battle and be like, "Yo, I want to battle because it's all hip hop"? You know. So I think there's just more dialogue that needs to be had from a hip hop perspective, whereas other styles like funk style techniques or like Crump and Flex, there's a lot more concrete understandings to where even if there's international and regional disagreements, there are a lot more things that make sense in those communities as opposed to hip hop. It's clear to the people that practice it and to the people who don't want to address the situation. So they'd be like, "Oh, I don't know what these people are talking about. We know what it is. It's fine." But we clearly see that there's some misunderstandings and misconfusions, which oftentimes feels odd because people are going back and forth every time. So I'm like, where are we not landing the plane at and making sense? It's kind of like when we were talking about, kind of like when I would go to like Unimate. And it was like 3 Unimates in, and the topic was still the same. What is animation? I'm like, we haven't figured it out the first Unimate? Like, how is that still a conversation? You know what I mean? Like that those things become, you start to think of like, what's the real intention? So I think that's what's happening with like that international. I think the illusion of separation fuels people's dance, or fuels why they want to dance. It's like, I want to train because one day I'm going to win summer dance and be the American to win summer dance and prove that real hip hop is. And it's like, yeah, what are we talking about? Or it could be a situation where I'm this foreigner and people don't like me, so I'm going to do it differently and have everybody, really all sounds like ego, but I'm going to have these people I'm gonna be the real one. I'm gonna take my step and do it my own way. I think to answer the question, that's what it really is. When people talk about what's hip hop and what's not hip hop, and on a hip hopper level, like OG New Yorkers and stuff like that, they also have different takes too. Like people who actually listen to hip hop music or are part of hip hop culture, whether it be communal activism and things like that.
You guys are like, we're getting like a
It cut off.
loading screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like,
I think it's the Wi-Fi. Hold on.
sorry.
Sorry.
All right, we're good. I wonder how much they missed.
I'm gonna disconnect.
He wasn't gonna lie. It was like on the last part. It's not
Mm.
going. Yeah.
I'm disconnecting Wi-Fi just in case.
What do you guys think so far?
Huh?
How's it going for everybody?
It's going great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was the Wi-Fi. Or I don't know if you just reset it.
I wonder if somebody messaged me and said
I
something.
think I started too quick. I should have maybe waited 10 minutes before we started.
How come? How
I
come?
mean,
Because like the link was broken, so I don't know if that was confusing, but
Well,
it is what it is. Because also people started showing up kind of like 10 minutes or so.
Mhm.
After.
Yeah.
The link that you sent that I posted, that one is broken, you said?
no, that one, it was more the whole having issue thing.
Oh, like your whole your profile.
Yeah.
Okay, so with this, we would have to it's gonna be
It can't use the same link.
I wonder actually. First, let's once we get the Wi-Fi back up, let's see what.
Let's refresh and
this
see.
is. Yes. Da-da-da. So we are still streaming on OBS and recording still, so we're getting all this at least. This is good B-roll.
Oh, this is still
It's still
going.
recording. Yes, yeah. So we're still locked in. It's just.
We're still locked in.
That could be like the footage is what's gonna save us. The fact that
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we have that saved. Right?
Yeah.
So you finished the question, which is good, but like we kind of did just like make you go to your very end point. I think I guess.
Yeah.
and I like the fact that they were asking questions because I feel like again, it creates like
topic of conversation.
Yeah.
Because me and you could talk for.
well it was
We
ill
could
because when I had
Thank you
bought
for pointing that out, Chelsea.
when you had that
Yeah.
question, it made me think about the can you hip hop in Crump? Can you like my mind wasn't there until he said that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I remember there was a dialogue about that
Yeah.
because that's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
When we're all done, everything,
Like based on that
all you
metric,
do is
like
come back to
Majid
this
should be
window,
lifey battling.
OBS.
Yeah.
Just press stop.
And even the thing of like I was telling the guy this yesterday about Europe,
Mm-hmm.
about the fact that they travel country to country.
I was about to say something to that.
Okay, wow,
Yeah.
it's back up.
It is? It's working?
It's back. Oh, it just cut off again. But let me screw.
Stacks had called me yesterday. He was like, "Yo, we in Jersey Mall, bro. You want to come through?" And I was like,
What? Yesterday?
"Yeah." I was like, "I don't know."
You
I
say?
just so I don't know where, but I was just like, "Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm gonna see." But that mindset that we have living in America, like Jersey feels like that's a lot.
And I was gonna say this. When I lived in Europe, I used to be like, oh my gosh, like I would go to different like summer camps and stuff
Mhm.
like that. And then when I moved to LA, I was the crazy one who was driving like 2 hours to K-Town or to the bridge for the sessions and like would go to West Covina for like rehearsals. I would go
Right.
all over the place and Canada. And everyone was like, whoa, why are you traveling so much? And I was like, because like
Tremendous.
everything in Europe, like we wish to be here and we need
Yeah.
to take like 12-hour flights. But the fact that I'm here 2 hours, 3 hours is not a lot.
Yeah.
So I think it's like out of appreciation. But when I moved to New York, I kind of started being like, oh my God, that's all the way in the Bronx. Like you're starting to think about like, how is that fitting with your life and
With your schedule. I just feel like that's something that could be explored. Like, why is the Bronx so far?
So because we disconnected from the internet, the stream ended. So
Mhm.
we're gonna have to either resend another link again to everyone,
Yeah.
and then we'll just have to redo it.
Yeah, I think
We can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I can
One
see
second.
it. Like it was an hour. That's the.
yeah. So now that we're closed, this will be just a full video that
Right.
we can rewatch again. So
And
Yeah.
whoever was there, we can just send it to them directly and be like, "Yo, here, this is the whatever," and then also post the extended link.
check who the people? I mean, I just can tell by the people who comment, but are you gonna say like everybody that joined?
I know Cirque,
Oh,
Maddie,
Oh, okay. Yeah, Cirque was the one that asked the
Right.
question.
I'm gonna message Maddie because I know she was in there saying sending a new link. I'm gonna message Cirque.
Can you send me the new link?
Yes, I will. We're preparing stream and everything. Default stream. Let's copy this first. Stop streaming.
You
Keep
hungry?
recording at the very least.
That's my stomach. I'm not funny. I don't feel hungry. It's just
Well, you can open up the chips if you want.
I will do that. I'll
Go
take a bite
for
of
it.
one of these.
Should I rename the video or just keep it the same?
Keep it the same. It's
Cool,
fine.
sounds good.
I'm gonna take down that post so that it doesn't get
Right.
confused.
I'm gonna do that as well. Oh, will it automatically delete on my end? Let me see. I'll just
I don't think it would. Oh, because you're reposting it from me, you mean?
right.
Sorry, didn't you find the stream feed link?
On that share button on top.
Lovely, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, this shit's fire.
You good?
Yeah, I think we're all back up again. The new link.
Word.
What's the
And I
new
can start
link?
streaming again whenever.
Yeah, you can start it. Just send me the link so I can share it.
Cool.
See what this said.
Are you sending it? Are you gonna send it?
Yeah, it said white peppercorns. I was
Also,
like,
send
what
the
is
group
that?
link that chat. Yeah, sorry.
Pink peppercorn.
Oh, pink peppercorns. Right.
Are we live?
We are live.
Oh,
Okay, wait. I don't think anyone's there yet. Hold on. Oh, he said. Okay. Hold on.
you guys buzzing on the chips.
Back. Everything still sounds the same. Great.
Let me know when you post the new link so I repost it.
I'll tag you. Hold on.
Oh, I mean, let me. Now we can do this. I wonder.
Boo, 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 boo. Fuck. Okay, I posted it. Whoa, my bad.
On
Uh,
new link due to Wi-Fi outage. There we go. Perfect.
Okay. If oh, you got someone from Arizona. What's up?
streaming in from Arizona, Min and oh, hello. Min and Maddie are in the chat.
Okay, were they there before?
I don't know,
Because
but
I sent it to them.
I'm not sure, but they're messaging now. Are you able to see like the username?
I can only see comments. Obviously, yeah, with the usernames too. Yeah.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, but only comments. I can't see who's actually viewing.
Even on the
Okay, word.
OBS?
Even OBS. Oh, on OBS, no, I can't. I can only see it through the YouTube.
But you can see the usernames on YouTube
Yeah.
of people who are watching.
Not who's watching, just who's
Ah.
commenting. Yeah.
That's sneaky.
Well, I mean, like, some people are just watching just to watch. They're not gonna be
Wait,
like,
who's
"Oh,
watching?
Here's the IP address. Like, this is
I
where
need
this
to
is.
know who's watching.
This is where you're living. This
Why
is
are you
your
not watching?
Who are you not
They,
watching?
they recording it, making their own personal DVD.
Who's a real one? Yeah, exactly.
location of
Copyright.
Northwest.
We're not making you sign nothing, so we know. We gotta know. Okay,
Okay, you guys are back up again.
we're
back.
back.
Yes, yeah, but-
We're back. Excuse me, my Wi-Fi decided to not handle this conversation. So
Kinen, totally up to you too, but if you want to disconnect the Wi-Fi as well, just to maintain that, like, the Wi-Fi health.
oh, you mean like phones?
Yeah.
Oh, my phone?
I think what
He's
it
not
is-
connected.
I
You're
don't-
not connected
yeah, I
to
don't
my
think
Wi-Fi,
I'm-
right?
Yeah, I think what it was is just an overload of people on the Wi-Fi.
Oh.
And since we're using a live stream feed, it's just taking a more bandwidth.
Ah, there you go.
There we go.
Lisa in Brooklyn here. Hello, Keenan.
Hey.
Yeah. I stayed on Mena's channel and saw the live sign go back up and tune back in. We're on the road to Tucson.
Fire.
Yo, thank you for tuning in.
Yes, yes.
Great to have everybody here. I do wish I knew who was here just to like acknowledge everybody.
Yeah.
But we'll
we-
figure that out.
Well, we have the footage of where I ended, so I think we could move from that last
Yes, I will. I can also like share that with Zerk
Right.
later because it's all recorded. So
do
we
we
have
do
the
we
full
have
answer.
do we have other questions from the last stream, or that was the only one?
That was the only one so far.
Cool.
If anybody else has any questions, you're welcome to just put them in the chat. Or if you have just anything you want to say or bring up, or you want us to discuss, you can just put it in the chat. And I am here monitoring everything. Lights going off, Wi-Fi cutting out, people talking in the chat. So yeah. But yeah, that was the one question. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I think the international question was really interesting. Especially, it made me realize how I used to be so driven about traveling in long distances to show up to events.
Thanks.
And it really even made me think, if people in America did travel like that, the events here would be crazy, because that's the one thing in Europe. I feel like because a lot of, I don't know how many of them actually came out here, but I can definitely see that some people have not even been in cultural spaces here. They
Right.
don't have that reference.
Right.
So when you don't, even if people come from a background where their family social dances and has experience being in that kind of environment, it's still different to be in the environment where those forms were born in.
Right.
And not just for club and social dance, even for street dance, it is so different. You being at a live feed event out here,
Right.
you being at a flexing event, and all of these versus ones that are organized overseas.
Now that you mention that, I will say honorable mention. I actually feel like what happened?
Zerk's question. How do we get dance in the States to get supported by the government? Yo.
we can answer that, but
I'm not laughing at the question. I'm laughing at like, I respect you for asking us. Yo, if we had the money, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I feel like house does what we just mentioned. Like, I feel like house heads, whenever there's a party or whatever, no matter where it's at, if they know a certain DJ is playing, they're there. Like, I know certain elders, like, oh, I'm going to Atlanta this weekend. Also, I feel like flexers do that when they have their own events. Flexers go to different places consistently. Crump does that. Ballroom does that. And it's a testament to why those cultures they function so well. I also would say outside of street dance, I think Black people in general do that just in like vacations or going to meet certain friends. So there is a thing in the Americas where people do go, like Canada, the Caribbean. There is a thing where people travel consistently for the weekend. It's just that street dance events or the main street dance events in America, they're either very spaced out, overlapped, or they're not as they're not as consistently attended. Like there's probably a jam happening right now. We don't know where it's at. I remember during the Dance Deets era with like Mike Lambert, there were like a schedule that you can kind of like go to different jams, but it hasn't been that in a while. Maybe Red Bull is like probably the only thing where people like, oh, the next Red Bull is here, I'm gonna go there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's slightly different. To the government thing, firstly, the U.S. government and any government, to be honest, like let's not have this illusion that like Europe and Japan like have a government that like, yo, we gotta make sure street dance is in our country. You know what I mean? There are people that may get some grants and some funding here or there to do what they do. So it's not a thing of like, how can the government support street dance? Most street dance support often happens with like certain donors, or if somebody's in a specific like municipal area where they get funding in certain ways, and they kind of find loopholes to certain things. But I don't know. I don't know if government funding is the solution, unless the government funding is about like providing infrastructure for the people in the community to do what they do already.
And that's hard because I don't think, even if the American government decided to fund street dance, it would definitely, I feel like, become censored.
Yeah, like what would it be? Would it be for the entertainment? Would it be for the actual progression of the forms? Like, where it's like that conversation is like giving a system a culture that they have no experience with, just because they have the capital to support it. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that question is. I don't think that's necessary. Them funding it, but at the same time, I think we have enough resources to support and do the things that we need to do at a grassroots level and beyond. Those are just conversations I feel like we need to have like off YouTube and in real life, because
not on YouTube.
Yeah,
we don't know who's watching, as I said earlier.
Right. But also recognizing what like social media and the digital space is a tool. That's not where our community is. I feel like we've gotten accustomed as dancers to be like, what's the solution for dance? I'm gonna watch Instagram Live and find it there. When it's like, no. We're having this conversation because we've spent days and days and days at the center having this conversation.
Yeah.
And we're like, let's bring it to people that we know can relate. But this didn't start for us on the internet.
No.
I feel like a lot of street dancers need to get back off the internet, building within their communities. And then if a solution presents itself, execute it, and then make it public. Like, hey, we executed this. But this whole thing of like public discourse of like imagine if like the United Nations and like when they're discussing what they're doing, or like when certain like sports franchises are discussing how they do business, they go live. Okay, we're gonna discuss what we're gonna do with the Lakers. What do you think we should do with the Lakers while everybody's watching? Like, they don't do that. So I feel like our conversation should definitely be a lot more online. Our community is traditionally offline.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think the only reason we're doing this is not to get used to this and to become to continue having more conversations here. It's to get familiar with having conversations again.
Right. And even if we do, again, we decided this because of the product of what conclusions we came to already. And it's kind of like there could be someone out there that can benefit from this nuanced take. We're not necessarily solving anything right now. We're just expressing what we already figured out.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference, where we could have multiple conversations via YouTube, but it wouldn't be like, yo, men are like, what do we do about battles right now? Like, we're not having those conversations. We're kind of like, hey, I got the solution. We implement it. here's what it is. And I think that's the theme of our next question about like what we're doing at the center and how we're actually getting things going and moving.
Yeah. Min said we need government funding for healthcare first.
Yo, hey.
Yes. And I think that's also the other aspect of this. It's the fact that in Europe, they don't have to think about those things as much.
Yeah.
That those things that should be accessible everywhere, including in the US, are very much accessible in Europe.
Right.
And as much as I haven't lived in Europe since 15 years. No, wait, I'm lying. It's been 6, 7, 8. I haven't lived in Europe like for the past 8 years. 15 is crazy. 8 years. And I'm not sure how things are. I'm not sure how the workforce and all of these things are. I mean, I do have friends that I speak to and I get to know. But I do think that there is definitely a difference in terms of people having access to resources, to travel,
Right.
To afford being at those events, to maybe take time off. Depends also on the industry you're working with.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's much easier there. It seems like, because otherwise, I feel like if it was the same thing as here, people would not be able to travel for events like that. Yeah. And if they're all working as dancers, if all these people at those events are all like full-time dancers, then that means they really are able to like sustain themselves as dancers. Whereas here, you have to, like, it's a very small percentage that do. It's usually like you have multiple jobs and
and again,
it's a bunch of things.
We can speak on this off camera, but there are certain things that like America has a benefit on. We'll speak off camera.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to get nobody in trouble. Things that are in street dance that like, a conversation, a topic like that, again, that's conversations you have offline.
Right, for sure. For sure. That leads me kind of to the next question. I will make it lead it to the next question that I had, which was, how do you then create structure for labs for your students? How do you come up with the rubrics that you do and then apply them on dancers and students?
Right.
I feel like those have been really helpful to me because, like we said earlier, sometimes teachers and instructors use very vague terminology to describe dance that feels very mystified and this spiritual thing that you have to figure out.
Right.
Which, yes, dance is spiritual, but it's our own individual experience when it comes to that. So I feel like you do a really great job being objective about giving directions in the lab and focusing on certain forms, aspects. How do you come to build those things, and how have they helped you as well as a dancer?
Right. Mindset first. I remove myself from the principles. So when I'm teaching and I'm sharing, it's not a thing of like, Kinen is the one that is like the principal. Kinen is a vessel for the principal. So you still respect the principal in the space. And I make that distinction because I am constantly working on my dance. Right? I don't come into a space like I'm complete and you're learning from a complete vantage point.
That's so important.
You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
like we don't walk into the center and it's like, okay, whatever Kinen says is law because Kinen is this completed dancer. I have a lot of development myself that I need to undergo and need to take. So a lot of these exercises that we have, it's about reassessing the principle as we go, track what we're getting good at, track what we're developing in, and track how it's useful in certain contexts. That being said, one thing I've realized when I first got into dance was that no one taught me life feed. To be specific, me being from Brooklyn and life feed at the time being a Harlem uptown thing, for Brooklyn to have an identity in life feed, we had to theorize that identity. So we had to kind of see what was done and kind of come up with a theory on how we approach it. When I saw flexing, same thing, theory. Dream speaks on this a lot. How for him, crump was theory. It was like nobody taught him crump. It was just like he figured out what it had to be. So a lot of us are starting from a place where we're not even getting taught. Animation. When I first saw animation, it spoke to me, whoa, right? And that had to theory, because Dre oftentimes wasn't as clear with certain things. He'd be like, it's just this, it's just that. And at that time, animation wasn't even really accessible to learn, and the truth of what it was, or the facts of what it was very limited to specific people, specific circles. It was a very like, if you're in the space, you get that information. So a lot of theory, a lot of trial and error, a lot of test. And from a lot of theory, trial and error, and test, what I realized is that I mess up when I draw hard lines. When I say it's this, I mess up because then I treat it like it's complete. But if I go, the principle is complete, meaning what is said about the thing is complete, but the framework can constantly be nurtured, then that's when we can experiment. So for example, if I say the idea of the groove is complete, right? We understand it comes from the pocket is complete, right? Your rhythm, your timing, that's a complete framework of understanding. But we could explore how elastic it is with different exercises. But we're not changing what the pocket is. It is what it is. Animation is complete in terms of body control and stop motion, what those two things represent. The idea of the clarity and the range of your movement, and the quality and the variety of the different stop techniques that you put together, that we're clear on that. So the exercise is just going to nurture that. And then the exercises come in real time. So for example, you come from a hip hop freestyle background, getting into animation, we've had experiences with Tabo and stuff, but the framework is changing now, because it's like, where does these things fit in for me where I'm at in my dance now? So a lot of how I structure what we lab on is based on that. Whereas somebody like Min is coming from waving. Where is my animation showing up in waving? She's also learning strutting. She's also learning different things, and really deconstructing and challenging. Like, okay, if you're doing all these things, but then you want to animate, where does it show up? So having real life assessments, with Alex and Life Feed with the grids and stuff, it wasn't to draw a hard line. It was to say, yo, this is where Life Feed is at. I'm here with it, but I'm not here with it as like this unique extension away from Life Feed. Everything I'm saying is what they're doing already. It's just happening through this process. So you understand it in this way. So I develop a lot of my lab exercises based on the fact that the principles are fixed. They're already there. But these different types of exercises can help these specific people who are around me. So they're not general. This is not a one size fit all. If you come from another country, this can help you. It probably could, but we have to assess first and be like, where are you at? I don't even know you, right? So I do that first. I make sure that there's that clear idea that the principle is fixed, and how I'm experimenting with it is what we're gonna help to build up. Another thing is we can drill, we can work on form, but those things should be happening already for yourself. So I think a lot of times when people host sessions, when they host labs, they take it upon themselves to guide people into the drills, almost to a point where it's like, I'm trying to convince you to be passionate about this thing. I don't do that. For me, it's like, if you aren't passionate, we can talk about it, but I know what I want to work on today. So it's like, this is what we're doing. And that way, if I'm working on this and then you're working on it with me, we're growing in this. But then when the session is over, you still have to train at home. You still have to keep it on. Like we talked about the last conversation, the 24/7. You still have to be thinking about it. Because if it's not being stimulated in that way, then yeah, every time you come to the session, it's gonna look like you're just only dancing that day. So I make that distinction, like, it's going to be very hard for you in this space if today's the only day you care about dancing. Because I'm thinking about this every day. And that helps. And then just my specific unique situation, the fact that I'm in the college and here, it's different because for those students, they're dance majors. So they have to show up in a way because they're getting graded. But then they're also not street dancers, or very few of them have a street dance background. So it's like sharing that stuff with them and realizing like, wow, this works in a different way from a dancer who has no like political allegiance to one side or the other. They're not in this like, oh, but this OG told me this. They're just there to be molded. So it makes me even more responsible to be objectively and clear and like concise on what the history is, so I'm not confusing them. But also I make it my business to let them know that we're experimenting because this is a living culture. Most of the time when students in colleges learn any Black or African aesthetic dance, they're learning it almost as if it's like an ancient thing. So they learn West African, they're like, oh, I'm learning this thing that Africans used to do hundreds and thousands of years ago, and I'm learning it today. Whereas like I make it clear to be like, this dance that you're learning, people are outside practicing it right now. So you're learning it here, but it exists in real time. So you're learning how to actually show up and experience it as if you were also a street dancer. Once the semester's over, that turns off. You want to continue, you have to step outside the university. That changes the dynamics of how they learn it, because now they're like, I'm not learning this ancient thing that I have to perform. I'm learning a currently developing language that has fixed historical moments where the principles are strong and has an ever-present ecosystem that is continuing to grow. When you look at street dance from that, it's no longer this like period piece of like, oh, this was just happening in the 70s, so I'm just gonna do it like it is in the 70s. It's like, no, have you ever heard of Slim Boogie? Have you ever heard of Jade Soul or Rashad or Castro, or, you know, like, do you know Bob and Andre? This is still going on. You don't know Dreams? You don't know Tada is Miho? Right? These cultures are still happening, and the principles are constantly being expanded on. So yeah, you're learning this core, but this core is ever moving, right? It's not fixed. Whereas like in a game like chess, they go back and they study how people have been playing chess forever, bring it to the forefront, and make new ways or come up with new things. But they have to be very, very concise on the fact that chess is chess. And the systems and the methods that we make up have to be relative to what is being currently practiced. Whereas like an old game like Skelly, like nobody plays Skelly no more. But to understand Skelly, you would have to go back to like how it was played back then. You draw the squares on the sidewalk, and then like you push the coin and it hits, and you know it hits 3 times. That type of, I don't know if you ever played a game like that or if you're familiar with a game like that, but that's a very old game, right? Like there's no new developments to that game. It's very old. It's simple. So you learn it almost like as a period. Like I'm gonna play this old like what it was. So I put that in place to make sure that students in the college understand that it's a living thing. So when I'm seeing how they're taken to the dance, and then when I see y'all in the session, I'm seeing 2 different approaches every day. And what's cool about that is that it allows me to be like, wow. So I know what to unpack with you, because of, it's like in this weird symbolic way, they are a blank version of you. They're like a student who never took a hip hop class, never took whatever. They don't have all of this experiences of like meeting like road bumps before they get there. So I'm getting like a fresh student, and then I'm getting someone else who has different experiences. So I get to see where 2 things meet, and then I can come to these ill conclusions of like, this lab can help both. Not all, but both people. So that's how I structure my labs. And then I try to be I try to be as elastic in the principles as possible. So I don't try to change names. I don't try to change terms. I try to get to the raw of what it is and then see how far I can stretch. And then I make up my things and I train based on what that is. And I mean, you can attest to it. For me, it's been really fun. I always enjoy seeing what comes out of it. I love how some days feel very fulfilling and like, yo, we made something, and other days feel very awkward and very like, I don't think I really got anywhere. Because that's how the lab should feel. You should experience failure. I love how sometimes being in it feels good, and then you go to a contest and it doesn't feel like it's there, and you like, but then you go to a battle and you feel like it's there, or you battle somebody, or you're in the cipher and it's like, why did this work here? Why did it not work there? You know what I mean? Like that to me, I think your lab should reveal that for you in real time. Like you came in a lab and then you go to a battle, you go to whatever, and you start finding out where you stand in this space. Because for a lot of other people, or just historically, the session has always been the place where you go to just like turn off. And that works when you get to a point where your movement is that subconscious. But there has to be a midway. Like there's class, there's a lab, you figure it out, and then there's a session you go, there's a battle you go. But most people come to the battle, and because they didn't spend a lot of time in the lab, they just do what they think people need to see. And then they come up with like what I like to call like these pseudo personalities or these pseudo characteristics. Like you may see somebody who like is very minimal, but not because they as people are minimal. It's just that they know that that's gonna resonate with somebody, so I'm gonna do it. You know, it doesn't inform choice. So I like to make my labs really push choice. Like, why did you raise your arm like this? Like, if we come in, most of it is animation. If you come from animation and like your go-to move is always like, why are you doing that? I'm not saying it's wrong, but if there's no reason why you're doing that, and you just like go somewhere else. And here's why: because you have the idea of direction, you have the idea of dimension, you have the idea of how to shape and gesture your stuff. Is that the only thing you would choose? If you had the autonomy to go different places? And okay, you did this for one round, but the second round, it's a whole new round. Don't you want new experiences? And I don't even have to tell y'all that, because we don't say that. You never hear me talk like that. I just be like, all right, let's try it in the middle ground. Let's try it in the background. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yo, your legs. You know
Yo, your legs.
You know what I mean? The spine, like what's happening? You know what I mean? Like trying to find different things. I feel like that's what makes what we do a lot of fun in Ingersoll. And those solutions. I mean, tomorrow, I'm gonna check in with y'all about what y'all schedule is, but I'm gonna reach out to folks about like what their weekly schedule is. But my goal is actually what we were talking about last week. I wanna try to do a day of each this week and see what that feels like.
A day of
like when we were like in the pocket and the control.
Oh, different concepts?
Well, the different structures, because in the college, right now within the rubric that they're on, we're halfway in the midterm. So now they have 10 classes left. The first 5 classes would be us addressing like a specific thing for that whole class. So the pocket for the whole class, body control for the whole class, what have you, leading to their final battle assessment as well as their class presentation. But us taking a whole day to work on the pocket is not just staying in the pocket, but it's saying pocket as it relates to body control, pocket as it relates to stop motion, pocket as it relates to the style, pocket how it relates to how you implement it. Then the next body control in relates to the pocket, body control as it relates to stop motion, body control as it relates. So we always shift the primary. Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna this week is what we're gonna lock in on. Like Monday starting with one of the first things and spending a whole day on just what that looks like and seeing what happens. Yeah. Seeing what happens. I think subconsciously it'll be good to have those things feel very, very driven. And it's just me being in a more exploded view kind of perspective right now, as opposed to like condensed. Like I'm going like this week. But I think it's gonna be really fun to see what happens this week when we embark on that. So if anybody's coming to practice, Monday's gonna be a music day, and then Tuesday is gonna be like more of a body control day. Wednesday we're gonna have more stop motion, and then Thursday is what's funny is that Thursday is gonna be the stylistic day, but then Friday, considering that Friday would technically be the implementation. Because we have the crumb session, it would be for me like all the things I did Monday through Thursday we implemented in the crumb session. So that's gonna be really fun. And then for you or for everybody, wherever y'all go out and dance on Friday, or if you're dancing today in your crib on Friday, implement it there, and then we spin back. So that's gonna be fun to see. And then when we figure it out, when we conclude that, summertime we may have a whole different thing, or maybe we'll do it again. Remember when we first connected, it was swing, sway, stop, and we were figuring those things out, and just spending whole days on just like swing, 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 swing. It was very difficult. It was very like, but what if a swing feels like a sway? What if a tempo feels like rhythm? You remember that one lab we had where it was like, yo, one person, you just do tempo, you just do rhythm, you just do timing. Remember that one? And everybody was, and I sensed it. There was a moment where someone was like, but what if?
Yeah.
And it's like, those are perfect moments because what if? Let's find out. So I do my labs like that and see what comes out. But it's always at the core from a place of I'm not complete and I'm still growing. If I was to say I'm complete, that means that like I'm the finished product. That's scary to look at when you're an aspiring dancer, seeing somebody that's done already. Because you're trying to be timeless. You're trying to continue. So when you see somebody that's finished, it's like, for me, it would make me more afraid to learn from them, because when I'm done, it's going to be where they're at. And now taking it to where it needs to go, that's all on me. As opposed to like a teacher that's like, I'm not done, but here's where I'm at right now. It's like, damn, by the time I get there, where is he going to be at after?
Right.
Where is that teacher gonna be at? You see that a lot in like martial arts and like combat styles and different things. It's like wherever they're at right now is not their finish. It's just where they're at. But by the time you reach that, it's like, y'all made it. And your teacher, your sensei, they're like, word, that's cool. I'll be on
this is where I'm at.
And then you like, and then eventually while you're constantly going through that, you now become the teacher, and your students are like,
so it becomes like a chain of people.
And let's dream for a little bit. When you have battles, that makes sense now to assess that. So the one who's where they're at now, we're gonna assess those who are on a previous path, and we'll see. And then you see one master here, one master there. What happens if these perspectives clash? Let's see. And it just creates more dialogue to how we can approach the language. That's when we're street dancing. You know what I mean? Like, when you're in a street dance community where you don't care who wins. You're just here to see what perspectives are gonna like do this and give me new language. And it may be a slight like, I want to see this person, whatever. You may have a favorite, but objectively, you're just like, yo, I just needed to see this because this is going to inform a lot of what I'm going to do tomorrow. Like when you go to those battles and you're like, I'm about to lab tonight.
Right.
I like to make a space I like to make a space feel like that.
And you do.
Appreciate it. Gratitude. Thank you. I'm grateful that you feel that way. And I hope everyone that pulls up feels that way as well.
Yeah. Min asked, I know we have a lot of discussions at the center, but can you explain for the group your approach to building your language and expressing on these rubrics and principles? What are your references?
Okay. The references are the actual elders and the OGs and how they discuss the principles. The language becomes where they generally agree. So for example, some people call it dime stops, some people call it dimes, some people call it stops, some people call it ticks, strobes, whatever. We all know that stop exists in all the language. So we go stop. Then in the Bay, they talk about you hitting a wall. Bob and Andre says coming to New York talks about moving towards. So each one is talking directionally. Put those two things together, okay, that's stop motion. You are coming to a stop. So I don't need to change the language. For me, it's just like, that's the language. How do I come to a stop? Then someone goes, oh, now, but you don't know how to strobe though. What's strobing? Oh, it's when you do. You don't know how to tick though. Oh, what's ticking? Or you don't know how to claymation or Simbad or rebound or whatever. It's like all this vocab. Okay, writing all of them down, watching each one and going, these are just changes in speed. Why it's changes in speed? Because the core direction was always about moving to a. So we're going to a stop. How we go there is dependent upon the speed or the velocity of how we go there. And that's why I always talk about tension and velocity. These are not like, oh, this is what animation is. It's just because you may say tension and velocity to Bob and Andre, and he'll be like, that's not what it is. And then proceed to do exactly what you just said. Why? Because all of the collective perspectives lead to that idea that it is directional, even when you don't know that you're saying it's directional. So that's how I find my language. I make sure that I compare everyone's thing and then put one conclusion. But that conclusion is not mine. That conclusion is a compilation of everything they said.
Yeah.
I just respect that conclusion and make practices out of it. And that's when it gets fun, because I'm not bound to like, yeah, you can't strobe because you don't know what strobe is. No, you do know what strobe is. You're probably doing it. But here's why you're probably doing it. Because all of these people said this, and in the middle, it's here. It's that.
Being objective.
Being objective, but also being clear that this dance would only be some Northern Californian thing if it did not expand and have multiple perspectives. It's universal for a reason. It went from a regional thing and a regional principle to something that everybody can universally communicate with. So you give props to where it started, but you also give props to where it also developed. And then you give major props to where it collectively agreed. That's actually where styles start. Styles actually don't start where one person started doing something first. You know what I mean? One of our elders, they used to be like, first, best is a matter of opinion, first is a matter of fact. And I used to really think that was a strong statement. And it does have merit to it. But the reality is that first is a matter of fact, but first doesn't matter if that first person doesn't continue. First doesn't matter if that first person does it to a level that everyone else is way past them. At some point, we have to pay attention to where things are also being nurtured and developed. And then when everyone collectively agrees, that always feels like the start. Who knows who's the first person to make up basketball? Because based on history, it started in Toronto. Do we care about that person? Do we research the why? No. When the NBA format was established, that's our start. So I often look at when was the point where everybody collectively agreed, and that's where I pull my language from. And then I go back, I go forward, but I always make sure I keep a sharp eye on that center. Because a lot of the language comes from, because when we all agree, that's when we all accept every perspective. If we're still at a standstill disagreeing, then we're always going to be sided and jaded. Labbing from that vantage point makes you be on a side. And oftentimes it limits you from seeing the full scope of the box, which often leads to dancers being like, this box feels limited, I'm going to step out of it. Right? But when the box gets reframed as many different perspectives in one box, then it's like, oh, I could just go over there for a little bit, come back. So I structure my language around that. Was that the bulk of what she said, or did she ask a second part of the question?
That was her question. There was also a question from Paul. And then we have a random person who just joined them.
Just go to polls.
But
Can I see?
did you want to say something else for Men's question, or did you want to answer Paul's question?
What's the one that y'all like? Nah, I'm not gonna say it.
It's the last three questions.
Oh,
I think someone got recommended this live stream on YouTube.
I'm weak.
Men's just gotta go back.
Oh, so sorry. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. The camera is off.
Oh shit, for real?
Yes, sir. You're not doing your job.
It is on.
No,
I'll
it's
see you on my
like
phone.
it's tilted.
Huh?
See? Bam.
No, yeah. Like,
You
look
wanna-
at my phone. Yeah, look. Yeah.
It was
Do you think the
upset.
relationship
It's okay.
between dance and entertainment industry hurt street dance education? Dance and entertainment industry? Well, it depends on the type of. I think Paul's question, that depends on the type of individual you are. If I'm speaking clearly based on facts and data, we know what the entertainment industry what it has come to, right? It's often rooted in exploitation, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that nurtures the community, but we also see great things in that exploitation, unfortunately. Like you may see your homie doing a choreo and you may be like, yo, my homies are killing it.
Mm-hmm.
But they're probably thinking about the trauma from the rehearsal, the choreographer just being mad, like fucked up, the industry that they have to kind of modify their life around. That's not a really nurturing space. So
yeah, the intentions there. Are very
yeah, I feel like that kind of answers itself, honestly. Like the street dance culture. One, none of these cultures were designed to have these pop culture ambitions. We only assume that because of what the United States tells us, that like, yeah, if you want to work on your dance, you get it to somewhere, because if it's not going to somewhere, it's not going anywhere, right? But you never tell that to somebody who makes pizza for a living. Right, you never go, oh, you make sure your pizza shop is franchised, because if not, why are you making pizza? No, you actually celebrate the fact that you can only get this pizza here in one spot, and you go out your way to go there. Right, you don't go to like this famous restaurant and be like, oh, it's cool that it's here now, but why don't you want it in China? Why? Same for the dance. It doesn't have to go anywhere. It could be where it's at, and then you go to it. The beauty of it is, though, is that it still is universal, because everywhere around the world people make pizza. So the principle of pizza is everywhere. You just got to find those masters and get into that world.
Secret recipes.
Yeah, but with that, there's always going to be Pizza Hut. And sometimes we go get Pizza Hut. We go grab some Domino's. That's okay. But is Domino's messing up the culture of pizza? It definitely is. Because someone who really consumes pizza,
I don't like Domino's.
people who really consume pizza, sometimes, like, if you have the option to go to like a legit spot or go to Domino's, you like, I ain't going to Domino's,
Yeah.
But sometimes you don't mind a little slice here or there if you can go to it. And same for us, we enjoy a choreo, and it's not to say that the dancers are low quality or they're low, but they are participating in something that is very manufactured and microwaved and intended to do things very fast, right? But then there are nuances, because something like In and Out is very franchised. So it's different, but there's a quality to In and Out. So there could be little nuances there for sure, where there could be a choreo that does have some authentic flavor to it, and it's all around, but it's authentic. But we do know that there's the cultural space where people make and produce things there. So yeah, that kind of answers itself. It's really the industry that people are pointing a finger at, as opposed to the dancers that participate in it, because we're well aware that dancers have many different circumstances to why they're in that. And it's not always this thing of like trying to contribute to that society or that space or that framework, even though indirectly they ultimately are.
Yeah, for sure. Also, I was thinking about when choreographers are more intentional, or there have been certain performances that do get more appreciation and attention because people, for example, have a certain story they want to tell, or there is choreography where the choreographer is telling a story, is being intentional, and is selective about the dancers that are participating, and then those dancers are also intentional. So I feel like, again, it goes back to intention.
Yeah, definitely goes back to intentions. I remember I went to this one Madonna audition. It's one of the funniest auditions I've ever been to, and we did not know what the hell we were doing in there. But the guy was teaching us some steps. We were just trying to get booked for something, And I remember it's me, a lot of other street dancers were trying to do the steps, but it was like at the end of the choreo, you freestyle. So we were all kind of like, all right, this is the moment for us to do our thing. So we're doing the steps. We doing that shit wrong. We all looking crazy. It's time for freestyle. We all going off. We just ciphered. And then I remember there was like, all right, you guys can stay. The rest of you guys, thank you. We appreciate your time. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna get pickets, whatever. I wasn't tripping off it. But as I walked out, literally the choreographer goes, all right, everybody take your shirts off. And I remember going, what? And I'm walking out and I'm like, I'm not even gonna like stay to figure out what's happening after. But when I checked in with folks, it was like the next phase was like they wanted to see the dancers' bodies. And they basically filtered out everyone who didn't have like the general aesthetic of what they wanted for the thing. So then it was like, it was never really about the dance. It was about the fact that we still need everybody to have a certain build for this thing. It wasn't about the culture of the dance or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, sadly, even when I lived in LA, when I would hear about the different auditions for the different agencies, it was like the predominant factor was how do you look in your headshots when you show up. Like you have to know what kind of jobs you're booking, because if you're dancing for Cardi B and so, you need to be willing to do X, which the X has nothing to do with your dance.
Right.
Honestly, your dance like was 20%. That's even generous. 20% of what
in
they
that
booked
industry,
you.
right? Whereas on the flip side, for street dance culture, it's like, yo, come as you are. You know what I mean? Like, it should show up how you show up. We had that conversation about the dress code, where some people after they was hitting me up like, yo, I don't know, man, I disagree. I feel like you should dress nice. You should, and I'm like, that's a human thing. Like, if you want to style yourself.
Oh yeah, we had that.
Right, but to be inconsiderate of the fact that street dance culture also centers around people who may not have the resources to get the flyest clothes or whatever, but they do have the arms, the legs, and the body to train. All of a sudden, their movement is not valid because they're not fly or fresh. You know what I mean? Like that becomes a different conversation because now it's looking at like, what are we really valuing here? You know, what are we really saying? What are we trying to say again to the people that come after us? And what expectations are we setting that are really making them, again, if you, like the Vogers, if you really care about someone's like well-being, a house mother will be like, I'm gonna get you some new clothes because I feel like you need. But to just say you need it and not investigate as to why they don't have it, and then put them in a place where it's like, you're not good enough because every time I see you, you just don't. You look like you're not. You know, some people like you. Some people, you hear this all the time. Like, oh my God, dancers don't wear deodorant. Oh my God, you guys stink. You guys, but who's asking you? Yo, hey, do you need? Do you? You know, that's community. You know, everything that doesn't do that, that's a scene.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you people having these internal projections on like why somebody isn't the way they are, and it's like, but how are you helping as someone who's representative of the community? Just making a post about it, making a joke? You have the resource to actually provide that resource to the person? Because if not, you're not helping. And then you want those, and then most dancers would want that same person to pay for their classes and to finance. So they don't even have the money to get their own deodorant, but then they got to pay you to learn something. That's where elements of that entertainment industry start to bleed in. And that's when I feel like it gets a little dangerous to where like we may need to step away from that because we stop looking at people as people. We look at them as like functions or things that need to meet this criteria so I can feel comfortable around you and I feel, nah, right? This is real life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
True. I agree. You got me thinking. Zerk asked, could Kinen elaborate on the idea of structuring a lab book?
Lab books are similar to MC's composition notebooks it was once notebooks, physical notebooks, and then it was your phone, because now we got smartphones now. Um, I think that's circumstantial, depending on the type of like way you want to structure it. But what I generally find helps is being open to changing it every time. Don't try to make it some solid thing. Um, Being very clear on what your movement identity wants, what you want it to be in the moment, creating a temporary lab structure around that. If it's about not that, like let's say you're not there yet and you're learning a style, it could be a situation to where it's like, okay, I'm learning popping. What do I want to what does popping consist of? The basics. Again, taking everybody's thing and putting it in one, writing all that out. And then coming up with systems for yourself, taking notes when you learn from teachers. Like your notepad could be very helpful for that. What I find literally in the notepad that helps for all my iPhone users is there is a bold feature. We all know there's caps, and then there's mono-styled. Mono-styled is kind of like when the text is monoed and it's covered by this gray box. I would say put all the names of the styles and the systems, put all of those things in bold capital letters. So every time you open your note, you see animation, body control. Then use bullet points to denote different aspects of those things. And then create a mono-styled box of like all your notes in those things. So it could be animation, bullet point, dime stop, mono stop. Dime stop is a da 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 da. So when you open it, you have that little gray box where all your details are at, but you know your primary focus is this that comes from that. In terms of formatting, that's a good way I oftentimes format my lab book to where I can always reference and be like, okay, that's what I need to be on. Because sometimes we just, when we're in class or when we just write a bunch of notes and they feel very cascading. And sometimes it's very hard to find the information that you need in that moment. So structuring it that way could help. For iPhone users, I don't know what Android users do. My apologies.
Good luck, figure it out. Yeah. Well, Lisa said real notebooks for life.
Yes. Did you have a question about because you said you had a question or a thought?
No, it was just a thought because obviously being in different spaces, I have witnessed the difference between a space that is trying to be very controlling of the space and trying to set rules, set standards to make certain people feel comfortable, but then people who are part of the scene who would want to go, they see that and they automatically feel like it's not for them. They're like, oh, well, why would I even show up there when I can go to this place where I can be myself and I can just get the music and get down. I'm thinking of, I remember there's this one dancer, he's more of a club dancer, but he didn't really have access to social media or like things where people would communicate about their events.
Right.
So he was always at the club, and if someone told him about a certain event, he would have to like write it down and like get there. So, and then when he would get there, he would just show up and be himself. And certain people sometimes, like, I can tell, it's not that maybe they don't feel comfortable, but they definitely feel like this person doesn't usually come here. This person's not in this space. But if this is a community, it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, you should be curious at the core. And I guess that's often my challenge, is that if someone new comes in and there's something that makes you curious, engage, because that's the real social dancing. Again, like this idea of like we gotta all just shut up and just move with each other because what it looks like aesthetically when I'm recording it, that's fake.
Yes,
You know what I
that's
mean?
very industry.
A bunch of people dancing together and grooving together, and you know none of these people really care about each other. Whereas a couple people dancing over here, two people are having a really nice conversation, two people are hugging. That looks real. So when someone comes in like that and they need their phone, it could be as simple as, be here at this time, I'm gonna meet you, or I can pick you up. Or meet me here in Union Square, because we didn't have phones all the time back then either. Like flip phones maybe, but like service wasn't as strong as it used to be. And then even the access to the events, again, Instagram wasn't what it was in like 2011. Instagram then was just, you post a picture. You couldn't even write a caption back in the old Instagram days. So you couldn't promote events via Instagram back then. You had to get an event page on Facebook and share it there, and then you either RSVP just so you have that notification that you're going. And even then you could forget. So you constantly have to tell yourself, I'm going to go there Saturday. I'm going to go. And then on your way there, you'd have to know how to get there, know the costs, you're factoring all these things. So if somebody doesn't have those resources, you would naturally help out.
Yeah.
No, for sure. It's and granted, there are nuanced takes to like, maybe someone doesn't have those resources because they're investing in something else. That's a personal conversation for us to have with that individual on a community level. Like, hey man, I've noticed you be doing this when you really could be doing that, and something is going. But again, it's a dialogue with an individual. So that also definitely, when I feel like a scene is definitely like, when they say like the choreo community, I don't know what that means. When they say like, are y'all meeting up to work on different theories of choreography and figure out where we can take choreography? Or is the choreography community just the fact that we're all hustling and making money in this industry? That sounds more like a scene. So that is my thing. Whereas like, there are street dance scenes, there are street dance communities. Something like Red Bull is a scene. You know what I mean? Something like Crump is a community. So when you see actual community figures in a Red Bull scene, that's the scene. Red Bull is not the community. When we're having live streams on Instagram and we're talking, even this conversation here, this is just us in the digital space. Our community is still Ingersoll, Modega. That's the community. And how we function in those communities, continue to keep them communities. Second they start to shift, become a scene. And then many dance styles have went from being scenes to communities, back to scenes again. Like that deals with like maintenance, how you maintain what the leaders and the representatives and the people who advocate for this thing do. That's all based on how they operate in real time. But most spaces shift, and then most spaces start off as just what it is, and they maintain that. So yeah, I can see where your thought went there for sure.
Yes. Min said, I noticed that a lot of dance spaces have become more hyper-individualistic and less communal. Any tips, especially for facilitators, on creating a space that is less that and more community-centered?
Make it about the principle.
I was also going to say, before you answer, earlier when we were talking about forms and intention, when you were talking about people just wanting, when some individuals come in and they say, I just want to do my thing, that's super individualistic.
Right.
Because then if we're 5 people in a space and we want to work together, but then you're like, I'm going to do my thing. Okay, so what am I supposed to do? Watch you? Or
right, exactly.
Like,
exactly.
How do I build with you? You have to tell me more about what your thing is, if I want to be a part of it or not.
No, that's a fact. And there is a historical context to that. 70s, 80s, well, specifically 70s, a lot of what was street dance oriented, your Campbell locking, your boogaloo, your popping, they were all group based. Electric boogaloos, the original lockers, mechanical devices, they were all groups. And within the groups, there were individuals that did specific things. Towards the 80s, it was still groups, Mop Top, Elite Force, crews. By the 2000s, there was still kind of crews, but with So You Think You Can Dance, I think that's when the individualism came up, because then it was like fiction.
Yeah.
Then it was like Twitch or Yaya. It was like one person. And then that one person became the brand, and they were no longer backed by a crew. It was like me. I think that was one era where, and then the idea of the contest, the fact that from 16 to 1, it's you. And if you're not backed, and at some point it used to be crew battles, like one crew versus one crew, this crew won this day. The one-on-one thing would be like, I have a situation with you, let's battle me and you. It's not so much about like, after this battle I become the individual. Bracket battles definitely center individuals, make people feel like, me, I just won Summer Dance, right? When Paradox was like, I won when I got here, and everybody's like, whoa, like that really makes somebody who's watching go, I want to do that one day. I has nothing to do with people. So they train, they work, and then they get to you win or you lose. It's like, my life changed in the dynamic of the rain, and it's like, oh my God, this person, this one. Yeah, so I feel like bracket battles definitely make people get really like this. But if you focus on the principle, you make it about a we and a community thing, that could be the easiest way. And simple actions, in addition to focusing on the principle, is also, again, making sure that we are all clear. So we're not just all randomly meeting up casually. I think one of the things that make dance feel individualistic, that makes room for somebody like, I just want to do my thing, is that people aren't really passionate about dance, again, outside of the day that they have to dance. So they're coming to the dance session and they're just like, I feel like just flowing today. And then whoever has the most dominant voice, we just do what they do, which doesn't really feel, whereas like when y'all come to Ingersoll, you know what we're working on. So I think that can help. It's about staying on principle, being around people who are consistently trying to collectively grow, and not this thing of where we have a session and this is my time to like show off and get footage. We want to kind of, unfortunately, isolate people who do that, or at least let them get theirs off and really hyper focus on collective. And then create space where events curate that. One thing I like about bracket battles, even though it centers one winner, is that if the principle is clear, everybody has an opportunity to rise to that occasion. And then yes, if somebody makes it through that threshold, we'll celebrate that one person in hopes that someone else would be inspired to come through and do that again. But over time, we're still looking at everyone. We're still looking at what happened in the 16, what happened in the top 8, what happened in the 4, and we're not saying that this thing. And maybe honestly, as I'm thinking about it, maybe I'm being a lot more optimistic about the brackets, because I also don't feel like that structure may at this point be kind of outdated. Like when I think about wrestling competitions or other forms of sport, you actually don't battle in this boop, 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 boop format. You actually go through a series of battling where you battle everybody. And then how you rank when you engage with everyone then gets tallied up, and then you move on, or someone else moves on. So I don't know if that works.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, like I think dance battles is very much so like puts you in fight or flight. You don't feel like you have an opportunity to really like if you don't win this 1 round 1 minute, it's over. Which leads people to then do certain things that could be performative. Not saying that someone like a Paradox, because I mentioned him, is performative, but it's to say that like the idea of Summer Dance coming in and one person coming out and doing an amazing job, that energy could feed so many different intentions. And that energy is definitely rooted in individual, whether it comes out positive or not, because prior to one-on-one brackets, it was always crew battle, and then one person versus one person if they had an issue, a competitive issue, a personal issue. But whenever you've seen like big tournament things, it oftentimes was crews, like 5-on-5. This one-on-one thing, I think, started to center the individual, as well as this one person who goes to Soydim can dance and becomes that one person that succeeds and the one, as opposed to like group, collective, community style. When you go to voguing is a perfect example. Category.
Yes.
But there's multiple categories, and each person in the house may be good at a certain category. So it's like, yo, you're gonna do the old way, you're gonna do face, you're gonna do hands performance, but we're all trying to get these trophies for the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not this like this person versus this person, Vogue, and whoever wins is the one greatest Vogue of all. It's not that idea. When you in Crump, it could be this person versus this person, but this is for the fam. Because I'm junior so and so, I'm baby so and so. I'm bringing this to the fam.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I hope I picked mic up. For Life Feed, it's the team. It's like, yo, I'm repping Lifetime. I'm doing this for Team Rocket. I'm doing this for Mel Fam. You know, for B-Boys, it's their crew. You know, certain people just have to get back to that idea of like, I got a we that I'm repping. I'm coming into a space with everybody on my back, not just me. You know, and you oftentimes don't see that in these individualistic battles. It's like, I like this guy or this person. You know, it's like that type of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Min also said another thing I'm thinking about a space where everyone is working on the same thing is honesty and accountability. How do you encourage an environment with such quality in your space?
Just be the example. That like what she's asking is one part's like we oftentimes, I've been in a situation where if things aren't looking the way I want it to go, we naturally think that the issue is what people are not doing, instead of looking inside and being like, am I being a clear example of what it is I want? So that we often lead to manipulating the space and being like, let's all do it this way, y'all. Instead of being like, am I a clear example? Okay, I'm a clear example. So I'm just gonna continue to be a clear example. I don't need to worry about what they're not getting. I would then investigate. Like, hey, what's going on? Do you wanna? I have a student who she really got inspired by the fact that she got to learn all of these dances that connect to her culture, because growing up she never had like hip hop styles and stuff like that. So in something like animation, she's like grooving. Like when we talked about the pocket and stuff, she was like grooving, feeling it, and the stop motion wasn't being picked up. And I could have easily been like, hey, no, you gotta manipulate it. But I was like, nah, I'm gonna let her enjoy this, because it's less about, and I actually get this, to quote Dreams, it's less about this is not it, but how can we make it this? Like Dreams sometimes goes like, I'm not gonna say this is not Crump, I'm gonna say how can we make it Crump? So when I would see that, I'm like, all right, let her groove, let her groove, let her groove. And then I'm like, hey, you know, this looks like you're doing, and then she would be like, oh. And then eventually when I read her midterm paper, I realized that she was really inspired by just like getting closer to her dance, getting closer to connect to her dance. And when we had the battle, we checked in, and I was like, we had a pocket exercise. And then at the end of the class, I was like, you see how in that moment, the groove and the natural dance was there, but you knew when and where to start to animate, and you started to shift. And she was like, and I was like, yeah, don't separate it. Don't go. And then after you're 8, you start. In that moment, I could have told her that lesson that day. I could have manipulated it and said, you're not showing up the way I need to, so do it this way. I was like, nah, let me let her find it. So it's about now, how did I let her find it? I was just the example. When I seen her grooving, I would groove, but then I would animate, because I'm trying to communicate to you. We've had ciphers like that where we weren't saying anything. And I could just watch you around, and I'm like, Mena needs to work on this, and I'll do it. And if you catch it, it'll change right there.
Yeah.
I don't have to be like, yeah, we need to make sure we're all on the same task. No, I'm just the example. If someone's not picking up, they can ask questions or I can ask questions. So to answer your question, like just be the example. Be the example that you want people to also, be in the space.
Yeah. She was saying without this feeling of needing to potentially coddle people's feelings.
Right. And people's feelings and all that, again, that's personal stuff. And it could be explored, but that becomes very nuanced within a context because we're all going through stuff. So I would ask what's the feelings and are the feelings general or are they specific? Because if it's a specific individual, then that's a you and that person's conversation. But if it's general, like everyone is kind of not showing up, or once it becomes general, the assessment or the analysis becomes what is happening in your practice that is not making things clear. Like for me, when something's not working in my labs, I look inward. I'm like, okay, because I established a space. So I have to be clear on what it is. When we used to have those practices outside and folks used to be coming and doing whatever they want, it took a minute before I checked myself and was like, wait, I'm not being clear on what I want to work on here. Which is why when we got Campos first, I was like, I'm not doing that again. And I would start to separate. Hey, when you want to do this, we're going to have these folks here in this session. You can go in that room. Eventually, I started realizing that I can't necessarily promote something because just for our community, like our scene, like New York City, New York was in a place where people started going to like sessions like restaurants. I'm gonna go to the Den today. I'm gonna go to Kinen and Animate today. I'm gonna go waving today. I'm gonna go to Hip Hop Wednesday or Alex session. And it was less about working on something and more like, I don't got nothing to do today. Let me check a session. And we're not food, So I stopped promoting my sessions just off of that. I was like, I'm not about to be like the Instagram menu of like where you can go lab today because you got nothing to do. Like, we not doing that. So I started making my stuff very private because I was like, whoa. Like, people were coming in like, yeah, I wasn't doing that. And I'm just trying to animate. I'm like, ew. You know what I mean? Like, nah.
Ew.
Like, New York started doing that shit. And I was like, whoa. Because we never grew up like that. Like, Concrete City used to happen on Union Square. And you knew, like, yo, I'm trying to get buck today. You would go there. Team night, you knew I'm trying to lock in. You go there. When Reg was having flex sessions at the Flex House, you would go out your way. Honeycomb Hideout, you would train and you would try to get into the spaces where Jazzy and and why is his name escaping me? And Disco Dave would invite you because you knew what you wanted to do. It wasn't a thing of like, I'm gonna see if I can go here today. And then eventually New York just started being on like every day is a session. And every session is just happening and we don't even know where we're going towards. We just arbitrarily I'm here.
Yeah.
And yeah, it really started to feel like Chipotle or some shit like that. Like, you want white rice or brown rice? It started feeling like that. Like, I'm going to take popping today. EXPG used to be like that too. EXPG was one of the biggest, like, where dance felt like a menu, and it was almost ill because the Studio A in EXPG was a window where you can walk and see and be like, house looks good today. And it was oftentimes never measured by like what house was actually doing. It was based like the numbers. Like if you saw mad people, it's like, I'm gonna take that class. That class looks fun. One person in the class, I always remember they used to be like people that don't dance. They would come to EXPG and be like, what's life feet? The people Cry used to hate me for this. They'll be like, what's life feet? Like while I'm waiting to get ready for my class, I'm seeing them like, what is life feet? And then Takushi would be like, oh, it's like a new style. He's actually the teacher. And they'd be like, yeah, could you tell me what life feet is? And I'm like, how long have you been dancing? It's like, oh, I don't dance. I just want to. I was like, there's a guy named Crybaby. He teaches on Wednesday. Because I'm not about to do that.
No, you don't have time for that.
Yeah, I'm not about to do that. I'm not about to be on some like, yeah, life feed is this. And then I'm engaging with you and then I never see you again. Like, nah. Crybaby's on Wednesday.
Ask him.
If from there you're still interested, you can come to my class. We have more conversations, but we're not going to go there. And those people usually wouldn't come back. But then the folks that would see me again being that example, I remember Q for Christ was one of the first people like, yo, I noticed that like you don't go into the sessions or you're very intentional in this way. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm this type of person. And then we connected, we started training together. You know, standing out and being that example of what it is that I value so that I gravitate around people who share the same values. That's how we started lapping, you know?
Yeah, Zerk laughed.
Nah, yo, there used to be some weird characters, man, coming into wanting to know what certain dances are. And I used to be like, man, and it used to hurt me because we don't have the financial infrastructure to really have a lot of dancers live off this. So certain dancers used to feel like they had to do that because that each person that come to class, you make money, not a lot of money, but you have to be like, yeah, my style is this. And, you know, if you do this, and then while they're in it, you can clearly see this person does not care. They're not pushing. But the teacher always has to be like, yo, you got it. Just, you know, come back next week. And I used to feel so bad for my people. Like, oh, man. Like you selling yourself and you don't have to. Like, you're so much more important than that. Like, these people do not care about this thing of ours. You know? That used to slightly hurt sometimes. I used to be like, God damn.
Yeah.
You know, or they'll morph their dance into this very physical thing and make it feel like cardio. And make it feel like, you're getting Zumba. It. Here you go. You know, like a Zumba class. Literally, like street dance was turning into Zumba in New York at a point, and I was like, we need to chill. Yeah, we're wilding. New York,
out of all places.
Out of all places, New York is moving like that. You know what I mean? Y'all already know how I feel about the chopped cheese and all that shit. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, when we started moving like that, I was like, nah, this is not happening.
Yeah. Somebody asked, would you argue that the feeling of exclusivity and even elitism inspires people to rise above their immediate feelings to answer their own call or betterment? Or does that create an environment where it feels more like you either got it or you don't?
Exclusive, like, but my question would be, what do you mean by exclusivity and elitism in street dance? Because if I'm saying I'm being elite by the measurement of how good I'm practicing and I'm training, I will celebrate that. I don't need somebody to validate that for me. I'm good.
Yeah, I feel like it might be also I don't know if that's what they're referring to, but it could be referred to name status.
Right.
Which is that
based on your merit though. Yeah. Like if you do good work, if you represent something that inspires other people, you should be celebrated. That doesn't mean that you're above somebody in the sense of like they can't get to that point and beyond. We oftentimes exist in this street dance world or scene where it's oftentimes being advertised like this is a spot I'm trying to replace. So it's like this person is good until I get in there, and that could be an honorable pursuit. Do you? I think of all the animes we watch where the main character thinks that, and then they get to the end of the line and it's like, this was just about me being strong for me. So yeah, I in no way am I saying what I'm saying to make a street dance utopia. These people are gonna exist. You know, that's when we know how to distinguish and discern. So yeah, you may be right. The elitism and the exclusiveness may inspire people to be great. I mean, there's always going to be the dark and the dark side of the Force and the light side of the Force, Jedi and Sith. But there's also Mandalorians and Tusken Raiders. It's all there.
He said, "No, I mean like what you're talking about right now, like not even making the time for people who aren't intentionally in the space for a reason." Often people take open space for granted, value closed.
So you're basically saying that like the closed space has more value than the open space because the open space feels more accessible? Is that what they're saying?
I guess. Often, yes.
Right now.
Exclusivity in terms of not being available to everybody.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I can definitely see when an exclusive space feels like people are more intentional because they get to go there, as opposed to like an open space feels like, oh, everybody's there, so I take it for granted. I can see that. I could definitely see that.
They're also, yeah, like they're specific. You wouldn't go. I feel like there are more of these and then they're less public because if I'm not looking to work on my wrist rolls or points or certain dynamics in locking, I will not be even asking around for spaces where people get together to just work on that. Or even if it's not form based, if it's certain intention. There's people I know in club dance that are specific groups of people that are just like their own squad and they go to only specific clubs because of the music preference or space preference. Club dancers can get super specific too. Floor preference.
Right.
So how the music is being transmitted through the speakers, where's the positioning, the DJ.
Right.
So yeah, exclusivity shows up in all spaces.
And I would say being more specific or intentional. What I would say I do have a critique for is if somebody creates an exclusive space and then they publicly advertise it as like, we're here by ourselves and you can't get in kind of thing. Now we're back in high school. You know what I mean?
You can't sit with us.
Yeah, it's like, all right, you should have just made it private because now, you know what I mean? Because now we're creating a narrative where now you have to be there for it to be for you to be of value. Instead of just saying the principle is a principle. You know what I mean? Like, we got something going on, but you can't be there. We're here doing our thing. And again, I'm not trying to tell people to stop being on their ego. Like, everybody got their own process, but we are aware of what that behavior oftentimes comes from. Yeah.
Yes. There's like people commenting on what you're saying. I don't know if you want to read. And then
it says show up mimicking and mocking dance because this shit rather than recommend. Okay. I was referencing Min's nuance about coddling people. Oh, a lot of us coming up, we never coddled and it honed us. Yeah, that's true. People never coddled, and I would say there's a pro and a con to that, because where elders didn't coddle, sometimes elders didn't nurture either. So it's like, yeah, you didn't have to like hold the hand, let them fall off the bike, but instruct, give direction. Don't leave it vague.
Yeah.
And then when I figure out, act like you were the one that like, see, I told you, you ain't tell me shit.
It's the worst when you figure it out on your own, and then they're like, I knew you would get it. I knew you would get it. Like, I set it up for you. This is credits to me.
Yeah, it's like, nah, you didn't have the answers, and you just weren't honest that you didn't have the answers.
Yes.
And you marketed it as like, I'm not gonna coddle you. Like, no, you didn't know. And it would have been better if you told me you didn't know.
Yes. Oh, it's Jacko. What's up? I wasn't sure by the username who it was. So I was like, this person. I've been here the whole time. I just couldn't comment because I needed to send in.
Fire. Shout out to Jacko and the Denizens.
Yes.
Blaze is one of the people that does a really good job at like holding that space for street dancers to come in and, you know, be free and express themselves, and then also be structured. And it's probably one of the few dancers that organizes a street dance space. They're outside. I love that. Shout outs to them in the Moynihan train station, a train station that for everyone who's moving to New York did not exist in our time. So people ask me like, "Yo, have you ever been to Moynihan? Like, what was that like back in the day?" I'm like, "That's a new train station, y'all." Like,
no historical data.
Yeah, like Blaze and them are making the history now with that spot. So 20 years from now, then we could be like, "Yo, the first Moynihan sessions used to be the Denizens. They was rocking it." But right now, you're in the part of history being made. I have no idea what the Denizens. The Denizens was nothing when I was a teenager. It didn't exist. It was, what was that train station called back then? Damn. What was it called? Well, it was the Amtrak, but I think it was Penn Station.
Penn Station.
It was like Penn Station.
Okay.
Where you would take the bus or take the train to like Jersey or Connecticut.
That's super cool though to say you're making history
You're making
right
history
now.
right now, right?
Go make the history.
even how we operate Campos and Ingersoll is new because community centers didn't operate like that back then. Back then, to get access to a community center, you had to have lived in the residence in the housing complex. You couldn't just walk in and be an outsider from another place. The places that changed that was like T Night with Union Settlement, where it opened up itself to the dance style. City Kids, where City Kids is one of the first after school programs that opened it up to all 5 boroughs. But before, like 20 years ago, you couldn't go to Ingersoll and be like, hey, I want to host a dance practice here, because it's like, do you live in the neighborhood? If you didn't, it wasn't for you. It was for the people in that space.
Right.
So even that's very new too.
Yes. And I love those spaces.
Yes.
I have like a personal attachment to Campos just because I felt like I was in a really confused point with my dance journey, and that was the space where me and you just like found that some pivotal points in my dance journey to start working off of.
And yeah, I know we can go back to Campos as well.
It's far though. This Ingersoll.
Campos and Ingersoll are like they're the same company. So anytime y'all want to make a Campos day, we could do that. But I like Campos too because of the rawness of what we found. But I will say, what I love about the Ingersoll basement is I feel like all of those things got condensed. Like we really went underground when we got to the basement. And I don't want to encapsulate the basement and make it like, again, like some mythos thing right now. But like, I really appreciate what we've been able to cultivate in the basement. Because yeah, it's just, that's our space.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's open to people when they come in with that intention, and you could live there for as long as you want with us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And, you know, the goal is to work on some new ways to continue to honor that space and celebrate that space. Unfortunately, we can't do super big things there because it's a fire hazard. We only have one stairwell. But because we're going to find ways.
Yes. And I do love Ingersoll too.
Yes, shout out to Ingersoll.
Shout outs to Ingersoll.
They're all under University Settlement. So shout out to University Settlement, which also is responsible for Rounds of Flames with TJ and Eldridge, as well as the Arc on Carlton. So University Settlement has been behind a lot of like supporting street dance. University and Union Settlement have been supporting street dance for a while now, especially University Settlement. Yeah.
It's amazing. We have a question from Remy. Can you talk about navigating call-out battle culture from someone who may have felt off from battling, getting back into it, but the popularity of certain styles is up versus others?
Collab battle culture?
No, called out.
Oh, can you talk about call-out battle culture for someone who may have fell off from battling and getting back into it? Well, so call-outs, again, from a top 16 perspective, call-outs would have operated in the sense that I didn't like what a judge said. I felt like I beat this person, so I'm gonna run it back in the context of a jam. My upbringing, call-out battle was like, yo, there's a dude that goes to Clara Barton High School. He's nasty. We gonna go see him. He don't know us. You see what I'm saying?
He better be ready any time of the day.
So he's coming outside after school, and it's like, yo, you so and so, yeah. And if you're a flexer, you just take your heart and start dancing right there. And it's like,
yo,
everybody's like, okay,
okay.
You know what I mean?
What you gonna do about it?
Right? Or y'all all at a session or an event, and again, the same context. I don't know this person, but I know he is one of the high level individuals. She's one of the high level individuals. I'm gonna go see you, because I also feel like I'm high level. Cruz used to do that too. So from a street dance, like not the top 16, it was really on some like run up on you. There were some people, I remember there was an era like around 2012, 2013, where the community, especially in the flex community, there was an issue with that. Like some dancers tried to be like, yo man, like I know we all in the dance, but like don't be running up on me in the bus stop and stuff like that. I'm not with that. Like certain people started to draw lines. because it was real.
It's aggressive.
It was real. It was real. So some people used to set boundaries like, I'm not the one. Don't do that to me. But other people would accept it like, all right, let's go. I remember one time in night school, it was mad funny. I was in night school and I was like finger tutting and just working on finger tuts in the school. And it was a guy that I would see often just in the class. And I'm waiting for the bus to 47 in South Shore. And it's night school, so it's mad dark. And all I hear is, yo. And I look, and he literally goes like this. He does like a whole finger turn around. And I remember the last move, he was just like, and just walks away. And I'm like, you know, that like call outs were like that. Like where it's just like engagement, scouting. Some folks used to battle people as a way to recruit. So we're gonna battle him, but underneath it, I want him to join my crew. So in today's time, it's different where we've been a little kind of like coddled, for lack of a better term, from call outs by sometimes using the word exchange. We all go like, let's exchange. And we kind of make it safe. And there is space for exchange. Masters can exchange. But exchange, when it's used in a very coddling way, does take out the energy of like, I want to push myself. You're gonna be the person I want to push myself. But like, let's push each other. Let's grow. Call outs, I also feel like when they're led with like strictly just ego and no pursuit of like taking the community anywhere, can also be kind of like destructive. So I guess my counter question is like, are you saying that you want to start calling people out, or are you just asking why call outs don't exist anymore?
Yeah, because I feel like it might be in reference to call out battle culture that is more referencing to something from before.
Right.
Or in reference to more so competitions.
I feel like
that's totally different.
Yeah, I feel like call outs nowadays are kind of performative. They're kind of like, I don't like this judge, so I'm gonna try to expose him and record and
outside of the event.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's not valid. It's definitely valid if you have a valid point. Like I saw Castro call out one of these guys in Vietnam, and it was a very valid issue that he was trying to address. Like, no, we need to do better as a community if you're really trying to do it. But there are also people who just call out, and it's like, I'm trying to, I just want to be the one. So it really depends. Yeah. And then they be asking, my biggest take is that I feel like people put all this pressure on judges being good judges, and you should put the pressure, but I often argue that the event should have a criteria.
Yeah,
the event should know what it is that I'm trying to structure, and then my judges have to adhere to that structure.
Yes. I feel like nowadays, if someone is battling, it's usually the criteria is who's judging.
Yeah.
Oh, this person's judging? Oh, you know what they're looking for.
Right. And then you have to say, like, do I agree to go and be judged by this person? And you have to subject yourself to all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, you said something that was interesting to me. You said battling with ego versus with doubt. Could you expand on that? Battling
with ego versus with doubt.
Yeah, I feel like
versus without
the ego.
Okay, I thought you said with doubt. I mean, again, ego is a complex conversation because it's kind of person by person. Like certain people have an ego for other reasons than others. Like some people may see somebody and think it's ego, and it's just passion and it's just confidence that they're good at what they do. And it's not so much that the person is egotistical. They're just very confident in the fact that they practice. So it's case by case. Like some people may be like, you oftentimes could tell when someone has an ego when the thing looks under practice, and it's all these external things outside of the fact of them just being good at what they do that validate their position. So they'll be dancing at a very low level, but it's like, but I'm with these people. You know what I mean? Or like, I'm with this crew, I'm with this fam, and that's why I'm good, and that's why you're not good, and that's why this move, you don't understand that this move looks this way because you're not in our circle. It's like that oftentimes is ego, because you could just dance and let your movement be the example of that. but then you be somebody that's just really good and is looking at somebody like, yo, you're fucking whack, bro. And it's not that it's not really so much ego. It's just that like I practice.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You need to practice.
Mm-hmm.
And that may sting somebody because it may expose the fact that they don't practice.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah. Making noise versus not making noise.
Yeah. And we all need to practice. I need to practice.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, if there are no more questions, I know I asked all my questions.
Yeah. I think we're good. Or if you have any final questions, and I think it's safe to say that like these type of dialogues, like when need be, this is an opportunity for everyone who's speaking. I know most of the people who are on this, I'm assuming y'all from New York City, so join us in real life. And let's have conversations in real life. Let's train and practice in real life. And then if we reach a point where our topic of discussion becomes something that we found something out of, we'll bring it back to the digital space and talk some more. But I push people who are in the city, let's get a lot more comfortable with being in real life and dancing and talking in real life and breaking this down in real life. And if you're not from New York, doing the same thing in your community and in your space, so that when we come to that space, we know who we can link up and meet up with. Like, let this be the seed of like having more real life dialogue. Nothing against the live streams, because we're doing a live stream right now. But we should understand those differences. And again, to the main topic of street, social, and club dance, again, this is not an attempt to split any hairs. They're all one. It's all a product of Black culture, especially Black culture here in America. But there are distinctions. So knowing those distinctions work and focusing on the nuances. I'm not opposed to people being fixed, but everybody don't dance because they're trying to get girls. Everybody doesn't dance because they whatever, right? People have many different reasons for why they dance. We have to understand the nuances, and we can't, unless the collective is agreeing that that's the principle, we can't just throw that on somebody. Again, I've seen OGs like, we never named steps. I've seen OGs like, we didn't dance. We just whatever. So let's be very nuanced, and I think that will help us get closer to like the ins and outs of like what makes street dance distinct, what makes social and club dance distinct. And I am not I'm not the law. I am just a vessel for the principle, and I myself, perspectives change. I've watched older videos of me speaking on street dance, and I'm like, I do not agree with my older self. But that's fair. Where I'm at now is where I'm at now. So, yeah.
I agree. You could look back at this in a couple of years and be like, what was I talking about?
Yeah, but then, well, actually, at this point, I feel like back then, I'd probably make that joke. But then what I started realizing is that, no, it makes sense why I was talking about that like that then, because that's where I was at.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's an example of progress, right? Instead of people who are watching this being like, oh, but you didn't say that 5 years ago. It's like, what, did you wear the same underwear 5 years ago? You obviously bought a new pair, right? You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest and, know that people can change and people could adapt and shift, and pay attention to the timeline and why I needed to shift the perspective and what good did it do to me and the community around me.
For sure. For those who don't know, where can people find you?
Oh man, I don't know how many underscores I have on my Instagram, but it's like a couple underscores and then at KINEN. So hopefully you find me.
Good luck, it's a quest.
I had to put a couple of underscores because someone else has the name, and I forgot how many I put.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I think it's like 3 or 4.
3 or 4.
So if you find it, just DM and make sure because it may not be me. It may be the person that also has that name. And then outside of that, for those who are in New York, we're at Ingersoll Community Center in Brooklyn, 177 Myrtle Avenue. Monday through Friday, Monday through Thursday, we work on animation and body control. And on Friday, Dreams hosts a hollow session for all those who are crumpers and want to come get buck or just want to come see what crump is about and possibly get buck. Yeah.
Yeah, word. Well, I appreciate you again
Of course.
for
of
doing
course.
this.
Yes.
I enjoyed the conversation and the no limit on the conversation. And also, shout outs to anybody who tuned in. Thank you for spending your Sunday here and asking questions. It was interesting to see where the conversation went.
Facts.
And yeah, have a beautiful. Why are you laughing?
Have a good one.
Somebody said you got 4 underscores.
I got what?
You got 4 underscores.
Oh, y'all figured it out?
Wait, I don't see the comments anymore.
I got 4 underscores. Thank you for letting me know, because I didn't know that. 4 underscores.
There you go, 4. How can we find you? Oh, there's some random person in here just saying shit. But
make sure confirm that it's 4 underscores, because I don't want it to be another person. But if it's 4 word.
He also posted it.
Yes, sorry, I didn't see the comments.
You cannot see the comments?
No.
Alright, do you want me? Because Remy posted 2 questions.
Well, we were just ending the live, so if anybody has any leftover questions.
Also, what is your perspective versus?
You want to answer that now?
OG. Oh, same question. What's your perspective on
3.
Red Bull versus grassroots battles? Who show up and doesn't, or who gets their flowers or who doesn't? And what is your perspective? Well, what is my perspective on OGs? What is my perspective on Red Bull dance versus grassroots battles versus who shows up and who doesn't, and who gets their flowers and who doesn't? Well, people should be getting their flowers. Red Bull dance is definitely exploiting the fact that street dancers are amazing and creating a platform around amazing street dancers. It does benefit people, and I'm so grateful that people have an opportunity to showcase themselves. As it stands, I do not support Red Bull, but I support the people that utilize Red Bull to structure themselves in terms of, I know some of them have some of them have genuine intentions and they're growing, but I do not support Red Bull dance as it stands now, and I don't know what that looks like in the future, but I support grassroots events more than I would support Red Bull events. And I would challenge everybody who goes to Red Bull events to go to your grassroots events a little bit more consistently, because they also are the reason why Red Bull even got the idea to do what they do. Also, what is your perspective on OGs versus new gen, and who gets their flowers and who doesn't, and who gets paid and who doesn't? So again, that's a conversation off of social media. But what I would say is that there are OGs, founders, pioneers, and then there are elders. Not every OG is an elder. Not every OG is a guide or someone that is nurturing the future generation. Some OGs are just there because they were historically there. So OGs get their props, but elders, we should really be invested in our elders and people who are intentionally not just trying to be OGs, but also trying to be people that are helping the new generation. So shout outs to the elders who are responsible and being responsible, and shout outs to the OGs because you also paved the way. But to me, there's a difference between OGs and elders and pioneers and elders. Some mad people created styles and they don't do nothing with the things they created. It took other folks to come in and nurture it. We still celebrate all those people, but not all OGs are elders. Not all OGs are very intentional about nurturing the future generation of Black street dance, social dance, club dance. Some of them are just there, and we have to be completely honest with that. One of my elders outside of dance, just on cultural perspective one time told me the funniest joke. It's like, yo, be careful what ancestors you try to tap into, because not all some of your ancestors ain't shit. You be tapping, you be like, ancestors speak to me, and it be one of those fucked up uncles that's like, yo, chill. I'm not calling you.
Yes.
All of our ancestors weren't the best people. We got to be mindful of what ancestors we bringing in, and I feel like the same for the OGs. Not all OGs. They get, again, give them their props, but there's a difference between OGs and elders. And then who gets paid? Street dance is not a business, y'all. It's a community, so we got to really figure out what are we talking about contextually about who gets paid. If it's about money, again, that's a conversation for street dance infrastructure outside of social media. But I do feel like infrastructure and active, consistent resources, more than just money, is important for street dance. But that's a loaded conversation. Was that everyone's questions? They were good?
Yes, I apologize because my thing wasn't loading, so I didn't see that people posted.
There's just one more thing I skipped that I feel like I can just wrap it up with that one.
Which one?
Which one?
It says, what do you think is a healthy balance between taking class and practice?
Healthy balance between taking class and practice. I feel like in how I see it now, weekly classes really help sharpening and tuning up skills, especially when the class routine of the day is rooted in foundations and basics. So if you have a teacher that is teaching you a routine, but it's rooted in the basics and the language of the style, and they're building from there, and or having a specific structured class that's focusing on a topic. Like today, this class is going to be about battling. This class is going to be about performing. I feel like classes, when they have themes like that, great. Mm-hmm. They're also really good for those dancers who just want to get a little loose, like move. Like sometimes the lab, you may feel like nothing is clicking, and a class may click something for you, whether it's a routine-based class or a structure-based class. So I think that's helpful. But if you're going into the idea of freestyling, you really want to prioritize the lab and training and session over classes. Just for the simple fact that the lab and the session and the training really puts the autonomy on you, and like, how do you develop and how do you form your language and how do you sharpen your instrument? So I wouldn't say so much balance, but more like, if I'm trying to be a freestyle street dancer, I'm going to probably train in session more and then take class when need to. If you're working on a piece and you want to sharpen up, I would even say at that point, maybe take a private with someone and be like, hey, I want to get these fundamentals right because I got this show that I'm doing and I want to kind of sharpen my skills in that, which would probably kind of expose itself, because then it's like, why are you doing that if you're not good at it? Why are you performing that thing? So yeah, it depends. But I would say, because street dance is rooted in freestyle and improvisation, there should be a structure of prioritizing sessioning, training, and labbing, for sure, over just constant class. But class is very helpful. Workshops are very helpful. Dance programs, all of those things are very helpful.
For sure. Zerk said difference between lab and training.
Training is the physical. It should be almost every day. Working on your dimes when you're on your way to work, working on your structure, or even setting aside hours and hours to physically just work your physical. Lab is like when the physical is complete, what different ideas can come out of stuff. How can I sharp, fine tune, personalize my things. Labbing and training kind of go hand in hand. Think of training like the push-ups. Lab is kind of like the things you can do because you did the push-ups, the strength you gain, and how you could direct that strength in different ways. Again, this is not the concrete answer. It's just based on assessing every other definition and how we use it culturally and putting it there. Lab back in the day used to literally just be working on your material for a battle. But training is every day. Every day you're getting your shit sharp. And then, yo, man, you got to battle this person. Okay, let's lab on how we're going to approach that battle. But the training part, you should always be a day where it's like, yeah, I'm not training. That's a day when you're off and you're not street dancing anymore. Again, capacity, we understand that. But passion oftentimes puts you in a place where you're training all the time. So training is just like the 24/7. Lab is like the circumstantial. What are you labbing for? What are you labbing to discover? What are you experimenting on? Or who are you labbing to battle? Sometimes people may have a moment where they haven't been in it for a long time, but they want to battle, so then they train for the battle. And within their training, they find ways to lab. So yeah, training labbing is kind of like that.
Right. Somebody asked, what were you saying? Somebody asked if there are any projects coming up for you soon that you're gonna be a part of.
It'll be on Instagram if anything. Yeah,
Yes,
see it
the
Instagram.
underscore
A million
Kinen.
underscores.
Yes, and last question, because we've been here for 3 hours.
Yeah, that's what I said. We gotta stop circling.
Okay, Zerk. Love you, man, but
Sir, come to the center.
yeah, period. Come session with us. Okay,
What-
he said difference between tools and material.
Yeah, come to the center, bro. Yeah, tools and material. Like we'll be here for 4 more hours. This is an opportunity to come to the center, but tools can also be techniques. Tools can also be like the things that you physically use. Material is the ideas and the ways you can format the tools. But I'm super simplifying it, and I don't want people to take this super simplification and run with it. We have a community where we talk about these things in depth. And this is an opportunity for us to get off of the digital space and come through. So I would push for people to be more present. I understand sometimes people can't make it. And from that vantage point, phone conversations. I'm a very phone conversation person. I'm always an hour, 40 minutes out from one job to the next. And outside of checking in with family, I have windows where I do talk to folks about dance. But tools and material, yeah, it's when you say tools and material, it's the same as saying like foundation, technique, or system, style. Like it can overlap. And these are not words that people just used in this fixed way. Like tools could refer to a lot of things in street dance.
Yes. All right. Well, once again, thank you all for tuning in. I will try to post this live on the Manifest channel, so it's there. And that's all from me. Peace.